Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on those time zones. My name is Eggs Benny, and today we are doing our wrap up for the campaign of Curse of Strahd. Today, should I say, we're going to be focusing specifically on the module, on the actual created Curse of Strahd by Wizards of the Coast. So this is your spoiler warning at the beginning. If you don't want to listen to this, we would be completely understandable, but we are going to be talking about things that are based on the module, but also there will be things in there that I have changed myself. So things that I have edited to make the game experience either more personal to my players or as a more well-rounded adventure / quest. But before we continue, I should turn to my players and ask them how they are feeling this evening. Starting off, we have our Furbolg Druid.
Hello everybody, it is your friendly neighborhood Ness here, and I play our Furbolg Druid, Sunder Elwood. I'm very excited. I have a lot of questions, and I am so incredibly ready to pick that brain of yours, and just, I'm excited.
Going round the circle, we then have our Aasimar Paladin.
Hello, I'm Naren, and I do Auroras. I am tired, I am new, but I am also very excited to learn all of the, behind-the-scenes stuff.
As it should be. We also have, zigzagging across the template, we have our Changeling Rogue.
Hello everybody, I am Mr. Sorrow, and I was playing the one and only and unfortunate to be there, Zazel. I've never ran a module because I find them too complicated, and I'm lazy, apparently, but let's find out.
Following on from that, we have our Elven Sorcerer.
Hi guys, it's Mythix, and I played the really angsty teenage elf shadow sorcerer Saya Sombra, and I'm excited to click on the bonus features for this DVD and learn all the secrets behind Curse of Strahd, what we might have missed, what we could have done differently, and just really read the book.
A man that I know has done a decent bit of reading in his day. We have our Human Artificer.
Hello there, I'm Dusky Bee. I used to play Jack with his left hand, Mechanical Man King, and TS Starbane. But yeah, I'm interested to. I have a few questions myself.
And then, last but certainly no means least, we have our Elven Cleric.
Hi everybody, I'm English Ray. I really hope I haven't still been on mute right now. I haven't! Yay, go me! I played 3 different characters. I started with Austra Rose, and then I moved to Queenie, and then I was a Miracle. And I'm really excited to see all the things that the DM planned and prepped for us to do, and that we never touched. So apologies in advance.
No, completely. So, for the ground rules of this session, what we're going to be doing today is starting off with locations and questions related to Barovia as a place, as a physical location. Then we'll be moving on to NPCs and notable characters. Then monsters and enemies, the people that you've faced along your journey. And then, finally, clarifications on anything that confused anyone. And then, if there are any questions that aren't covered by any of those subheadings, then it's a free-for-all. anything that hasn't been answered, feel free to throw at me, because at this point there is no metagaming, there is no worrying about breaching the confidentiality between characters and DM. This is the last episode that we are going to be doing, so feel free to throw anything at me, and I will try my very best to throw answers at you, and then if I haven't really thought about them, then we can discuss them together as a group. But first, locations and questions related to Barovia as a place. Now, the land of Barovia is very strictly laid out in terms of the module. Like, I have been given many maps to tell me exactly where things are and where they are located. But are there any questions that you have as players about Barovia and about the land that you have been exploring essentially for the last year?
I have many a question, actually. So, is there any place, like, specific that we didn't explore that would have been really helpful?
Ooh. Helpful is an incredibly broad adjective, but I would say that the Amber Temple is somewhere that, as a party, you didn't go and explore, but me and Sorrow had a one-on-one session where he and Azazel went to the Amber Temple to essentially plunder it of all of the treasures that could potentially be gotten there. There were many instances where, as characters, you could have gone and gotten powers beyond your level, beyond your spellcasting ability, that would have been incredibly helpful. For example, in the final battle, Azazel was able to cast Cone of Cold, which I believe, off the top of my head, is like a 5th or 6th level wizard spell that he would never have had access to otherwise. While the Amber Temple was incredibly deadly, like, there were many enemies there that could have hampered your ability, there were also so many rewards there that if you'd have been willing to make the sacrifice, you could have gotten incredibly powerful. And then,
That's so interesting.
more in terms of story, you, in episode 1, essentially went to Barovia chasing werewolves that were abducting children, but you never actually went to the werewolf den. So that was something that very early on I planted the seeds to be there, like, oh, well, there is going to be a werewolf society in Barovia, and you've been given almost a heads up to be there, like, oh, well, some of the wolves that you find here might not be wolves at all, and might be werewolves in shifter form.
Did we ever actually find werewolves? I mean,
No.
Yes, you did.
I was gonna say for the
No.
most part, we
Yes, you did. Because if you remember the fur trader that you bumped into along the way,
Oh my God, yeah.
the guy that was there, like, oh, I have, like, some fur from some deer and some rabbits, like, if you want to buy this. He was a werewolf. And I don't know if you remember at the time, but he essentially was asking really probing questions. Essentially being there like, oh, you know, like, you seem really strapped for just some wandering people. And by the time that you'd essentially answered, like, oh yeah, we've got magical weapons on us, he backed off and was there like, okay, I'm not going to attack you then.
Well, that's funny because I just remember the whole campaign being like vampire, 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 and just now and again we'd mention werewolves and be like, question mark?
To be fair, the character that would have gone after the werewolves died, so the new characters didn't really know about that.
Also true. Also completely true. But to answer your question of like, oh, what did you miss that might be a cool place? You technically, as a group, never explored the Amber Temple. Yes, we touched on it very quickly in the epilogue, but that's because as a group, you would have very easily combated the things like the berserkers that were hiding in different rooms and the flame skulls that were essentially throwing fireballs out at anyone they could see. There were many things that were like higher level threats, but as soon as you were there, like, oh yeah, we're going here as a group. I was like, oh yeah, you're fine. Yeah, you might be a bit singed by the end of it, but no one's going to die. In fairness, Luke, yeah, even the original characters kind of forgot that they were meant to be chasing werewolves to save children. That was very quickly put on the back burner when they were chucked into a haunted house that was trying to kill them.
And then from there, it was kind of just like, oh, hey, protect my sister. Get her out of town. Go, now. Bye.
Mm-hmm. Ismark very quickly just being there like, please take my sister and get her out of here.
So we're on an escort mission now. Great. Okay, this is totally what we signed up for.
Here's a question then, because oh wait, I'm sorry, Krista, you want to finish?
No, I was gonna say just basically like chucked us out the door. Like, here's my sister. Go. Bye.
Okay. So I guess I have a question about the haunted house. Because me personally, I don't know where I was. I'm having trouble remembering, I think I came in like later in. So there's a lot that I feel like I missed. Like I know I know about the swinging axes that like almost killed us, but what else happened there? Because I don't know.
So the way that the house is set up is that essentially the first 2 floors are not meant to draw suspicion at all. So it's a den and a sitting room and a dining room and a kitchen, and then you go up to the next floor and there's multiple like guest spaces and a bathroom, and it's not until you find like the secret door hidden in a panel in the wall that it's meant to then be like, okay, this house is hiding something. And it's now getting like very creepy. So essentially, the first floor is like, oh, you're seeing portraits of this family, like giving hints to like the family structure and the wealth and the fact that, oh, people don't seem to have been here for a while. And then as you go up to the second floor, it's more the thing of, oh, well, here's like the father's study. And gives you a little bit more idea of the family connection to Strahd, because you found the deed that connected the family to the windmill that had then been taken over by the hags. But at that point, it was like, okay, like this family is real, and Strahd had given them land, so apparently they're connected to him. But also Strahd had sent them a letter essentially calling the father of the family fucking pathetic. And how, like, all the problems were his fault. And that he wasn't going to help anyone.
Well, that's not very nice.
It's not nice, but it was technically true. And then going up into the 3rd floor and the attic, you're finding like the repercussions of the father's actions. You're finding ghosts, you're finding spectres, you're finding the ghosts of the dead children. And all of these things connected together to make an experience that technically killed Valdis. Before heading all the way down into the basement layer.
Oh yeah. Because he died once in the house, I believe.
Yeah, it was because of the nursemaid. Because there were so many people that wouldn't fucking move. So Val was like, "Can we fucking run, please?" And nobody ran, so he was in the very back. So he was like, "Okay, I guess we're fucking fighting." And she was just like, "Get bitch slapped, idiot." And he just, she said, "Twink be gone," zap, and he was just dead.
I should piggybacked him downstairs though when we got chased by your patron.
Yeah, thanks, madame. You a real one.
I imagine this house was like the monster house where it was alive and it knew where we are at all times and was just like, you're gonna die one way or another.
Yeah. The lore of this house was essentially that, like, I remember making Ismark make a comment on it with the fact that Barovians had before, like, fully burnt it down, and it had reformed like a couple of weeks later. It was a house that was so haunted that it couldn't be destroyed. Until you guys had, like, put the children to rest, but you had also defeated the creature that was in the basement. And because of that, it's like, well, all the spirits that are here have now been laid to rest, and the house can now finally be just left.
I have a question, actually. So, throughout the entire time that we've been playing, it's been built up that, like, the woods are extremely dangerous. And, like, you die if you go in them. And, like, Irina's reaction when we had to run into the woods to get away from Yester Hill. Like, I want to know more about that. And kind of, like, besides werewolves, like, what is in there? Like, what is the folklore behind the dangerousness of the woods?
So there's a different answer for folklore versus mechanically. Mechanically, I got to roll more for random encounters. The longer you spent in the woods, the more I got to roll for, oh, you might encounter something. I think it was like a higher probability. Instead of, like, rolling an 18 to 20 on a dice, it was rolling a 15 to 20 on a dice. And you might encounter something. The folklore aspect of it is that essentially Barovians have been taught since birth to not fuck with the forests. That either the druids would capture them, or the wolves and the werewolves and the dire wolves that were servants of Strahd would, like, do them in, or that the Vistani that were legions of Strahd and that were part of his army would then capture them and torture them and make them subservient to them. There was a lot of lore that if you were a native to Barovia would have been rammed down your throat because they just wanted to keep you safe, and the woods were not a place to be safe. I think that answers your question.
It does, thank you.
Yeah. But essentially, the module as a whole gives a massive section to just what the Barovians believe. And there's an entire, like, 6-7 page spread to, like, if you are a Barovian or you grew up in vicinity of Barovia, this is what you believe, and this is the folklore that you have held on to and has been told to you by your grandma. So as soon as you started taking Irina to all of these different scenarios, I had to bear that in mind, because Irina is a native Barovian and someone that would have had these folk tales told to her by her adoptive father, and someone that grew up believing that the woods were a dangerous place. In fact, to walk into them was a death sentence.
Was there at any point do you think Irina questioned her choices by being with her party while being around the woods?
Oh, fuck yeah! Like, as soon as, like, you'd gotten to Yester Hill, and she was with you up until that point. She was there like, yeah, we're here to confront the druids. We've been told by Madame Ava that we need to find something here. We've been told that if we don't come here, we'll be hindered on our quest. And then you're all there like, let's run into the woods. And she's there like, God, the nearest civilization from Yester Hill to the woods is like the Vistani camp, but that's like a 2-day walk away. Like, we're gonna be stuck in this woods for 2 days. We're fucked. And, like, that's why I had her have a panic attack. Because she was there like, we're so done. In the nicest way possible.
No, you don't get to say go team. That was your decision, Ali.
Was it my decision?
You were the one who decided, like, Saya's not staying here, Saya's gonna go to Crash, and just ran through the woods. And that's what it was
I was following Aurora, who wanted a bath.
Hey.
You have anyone to blame? Blame the paladin. It wasn't me.
I think we're all talking about separate things.
You are.
Actually. So,
Yeah.
I'm on about when we were at the Vistani camp.
I think so too.
Like, you and Azazel try to have it out, and Jack's there kind of like as a witness, such a mediator, and you just ran into the forest afterwards, being like, I'm not staying here, I'm going to Crash.
Tensions were high. You can't blame me. But still, I say, go team.
okay, so next question.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck is up with the mad mage in the woods? Why is he crazy? Is he trying to kill everybody? Like, what's his damage? Who hurt him?
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. So the Mad Mage was essentially meant to be an adventure where, if you had managed to cast the right spells or ask the right questions or unlocked the right persuasion check, you would have been able to, like, quote unquote, fix him. But you didn't. You killed him in your run through. So, that was an interesting thing and a moment for me where I was like, okay, they've just killed someone who would have been a very powerful ally. Nod. Don't expand, don't explain, just carry on. But I don't know, I can say this now because it's the end of the campaign. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the name Mordekainen.
Oh
Yes,
no.
Yes.
I think so,
Dear
yeah.
gods, was that Mordekainen?
You killed Mordekainen.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Fuck. Well, at least it was after we killed Strahd, so, like, we didn't need any help.
Technically. But you've now changed the history of the Forgotten Realms forever by killing one of its most renowned mages.
Yeah, oops.
Was this before or
Rip.
after he published Tomb of Foes?
But essentially, for anyone that doesn't know anything about the Forgotten Realms, Mordekainen is one of those mages where they are an archmage. They are the pinnacle of magic. They are someone that, realistically, they are the best of the best of the best. And they accidentally ended up in Barovia. And I don't know if you guys remember when you heard the story from Madame Ava's Vistani camp, where a mage went up against Strahd and their body was thrown over a waterfall? Mm-hmm. That was Mordekainen.
Oh.
So
he
go on.
That was the mage that we like went for like resurrection at the end.
No, that was the mage that you went into the mountains, he started attacking you, you hog-tied him and then just killed him because he wasn't answering your questions. So the party, without realising it, killed one of the most powerful mages in the entirety of the Forgotten Realms in general, and now that's going to have brilliant cascading effects of what have you done when you've taken away one of the world's brightest heroes.
Ha 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 ha. Oh, fuck.
That bastard almost killed me. Almost
Yeah.
didn't make it till the end.
But essentially what was meant to happen is that he had he'd essentially cast spells on himself that had blocked psychic possession and had blocked like the ability to charm him and things like that. So if you'd have cast a greater restoration on him, he would have, 1, become sane, and 2, been willing to help you.
God damn it.
He's one of those NPCs like Van Richten who you had found in the Mage's Tower that potentially could have helped you with fighting Strahd, but you had to just jump through a couple of hoops first to be there like, oh yeah, like you have to cure his madness, and then once that's done.
Luke wants to know, was there ever a point where you were trying very, very hard to kill the party?
At no point was I trying hard to kill the party. There were a couple of points, however, that I was there like, okay, I'm gonna make you feel the consequences of your actions. For example, the Scarecrow fight.
That gave me nightmares after that session. I hate scarecrows. That gave me nightmares. For good reason. For good reason. I'm sorry.
But no, you don't have to apologise to me at all, because it was just a dice that I randomly rolled. I treated your journey the same as anyone else's, where it was the thing of, okay, you're travelling along. For every half an hour that you travel, I'm going to roll a dice, and as soon as a random encounter appears, I'm going to make you face it. Because for the general thing of running this module, that is what a DM does. For every half an hour travelled, you roll a d20, and if you roll an 18 to 20, a random encounter happens. And then you roll more dice to figure out what that random encounter is. For you, it just happened to be scarecrows.
You had your dice loved you.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say that. Your dice absolutely loved you.
For a paid actor.
To answer the question, what's a Forgotten Realms exactly? It's essentially, the best way I can put it is like a universe. The Forgotten Realms is a base universe where if you want to run Dungeons and Dragons, it's a pre-made place with places, with countries, with lore. Like, you don't necessarily need to create your own world because one has already been created for you. So for this example, Mordekainen is an NPC that is very prevalent in the Forgotten Realms lore because he is a very famous wizard and someone that has essentially saved the world a good couple of times. So many people know him if they were to know him. Like, say, for example, if you had actually gone through the hoops to cure Mordekainen of his madness, the people that had come from the Forgotten Realms, you would have been there like, oh wait, I know him. He's a savior of my people.
So we only fucked up minorly.
Minorly. I mean, there's still people like Elminster that like could have filled in the space for Mordekainen, but technically no one in the Forgotten Realms knows that Mordekainen is dead. And neither do you, because you didn't recognize him.
How does it feel being killed by a party that needed a talking stick?
Best line.
Alright then, going back to the top of it, is there any other questions about the locations and questions related to Barovia as a place, as a location?
I have a question.
Yes?
So, when we first went to Yester Hill, and there were, like, a bunch of graves, and, like, where Sonder found, like, the blood spear and everything, what's the story behind that? Like, who was buried there, and what happened?
So the best that the book gives me is that it's essentially a grave mound for the first barbaric tribes that lived in Barovia. Like, they lived, they plundered, they moved their way across the space, and then when situations and formations like the Order of the Silver Dragon started popping up, they felt themselves be restricted to less and less space. Their famous warriors were buried in Yester Hill in these grave mounds to, like, just be laid to rest. But it's always an optional adventure or situation to happen that, depending on the class of the adventurer, for your sake, for Sonder it was Druid, the essence of this barbaric leader would reach out to you being like, well, you are connected to nature, so I want you to have my spear.
That's so interesting.
But the lore is actually, in fairness, very sparse. It essentially tells you that there used to be these tribes that wandered the land of Barovia and were nomadic. They were, like, sieging places. They would steal, plunder, take what they could, live off the land. And then were essentially hunted into near extinction by society? Is the best way of putting it. And then as more of them died, the druids almost took over from, like, the nomadic sense of their lives. And then it was left to them to be like, okay, we're going to take over where the barbarians left off.
Speaking of the druids, what was up with the tree on Yester Hill?
Yeah,
And, like, why were they
about that
worshipping
too.
it like that? Like, what's the story behind that?
So, the tree wasn't necessarily something that they worshipped. They worshipped Strahd, but they were using the magic of the gem that they stole from the winery to pump life into this giant oak tree. And if you'd have let the ritual carry on, the tree would have become its own. So you remember how the druids were able to control twigs and vines, and they became like constructs almost. The tree would have then become its own construct.
Oh, damn.
So you would have been fighting this massive fuck off tree with like 10-foot reach, with a decent chunk of health points because it was a tree rather than just a bundle of twigs, and its entire thing was to attack the winery. So you did good in the sense of you stopped it before it got to that point.
We did fight it, though. It went up to the winery and we killed it in the front yard.
That you did. But yeah, its whole thing was that it was going to demolish the winery. if you'd have, say for example, done nothing, or been there like, oh, we'll come back to the winery at another date, I, as the DM, would have had to be there like, oh, the day that you spent doing something else, the tree destroys the winery, and the Martikovs have to flee to their family in Vallaki. Like, it would have had, like, knock-on repercussions of, like, oh, well, if you don't do this, then the Martikovs are fucked. So the fact that you decided to be there like, oh yeah, no, we will check on the Martikovs, we'll make sure that they're okay, actually saved the winery.
A good decision for once, hell yeah.
From what I can remember, the trees didn't kill some of the party, but the constructs that druids made, like the vine blights and the twig blights, yes, the attack in the winery, the first one, it killed some of the party.
I believed it killed Queenie.
Yeah, it's where we lost Queenie, and it's where we almost lost Sonder, to be fair, and Jack. I think they went unconscious, but were able to be, like, revived by other people.
It was because of Azazel's quick thinking in pretending to be Strahd that he got the rest of the druids to, like, heal anybody that they could. And Queenie, unfortunately, that by that point was already dead.
I think that was nearly a TPK because, like, Aurora was a turn from going down, and Irina had just gone down too.
That's okay. So that's not what I'm thinking about. Okay, I thought that took place from when the party was separated. But it's not. Different place. Okay, we're good.
To be fair, you had quite a few meetings with the druids. You had quite a few moments where you were either attacked on the road or you were attacked in the winery, but you never actually attacked the druids directly, which, if you had, would have given you a level up, but you never did.
Rip.
Damn.
Anything else to do with the location of Barovia?
Why? Okay, so this might be a NPC question, so you can tell me to ask it later if you need to. But what was the whole thing with, like, Baba Lysaga and the, like, rot in the southern part and, like, the glowy magic doohickey that she had, like, underneath her cauldron?
Yeah, so the actual area of the swamp itself was because the village of Berez was a village in its own right, and then Strahd flooded it. Like, he fully used the weather to cause a tsunami and just flooded the entire village, wrecked it. So that's why the entire of the south part of Barovia is now just a swamp. Because Strahd used his magic to essentially terraform it, is probably the best way of putting it. And then Baba Lysaga, she had stolen another one of the green gems from the winery. So the green glow underneath her cauldron was coming from that green gem. Essentially, she had repurposed it to enchant her hut. At any point, her hut could have become animated and realistically beat the shit out of you. But you were never, like, on the bad side of Baba Lysaga, so she never felt the need to do that.
What was the whole Strahd is my baby thing going on with her? Because that... What?
I will come back to that, because that is definitely an NPC question. Actually, that's technically like a monster's enemies question, but we will come back to that. Is there any other questions linking to, like, the location of Barovia?
Is it like its own little demi-plane, or is it something else?
Yeah. The best way that I can explain it is that Barovia is a demi-plane. Like, it is its own existence, with Strahd fully pulling the strings of who he lets in and who he lets out. The Vistani, because back in the ancient times, one of the Vistani families actually nursed Strahd back to health after a very harrowing battle. The Vistani and all their descendants were then given a free pass by Strahd, so they could leave and come whenever they wished. Everyone else was by either invitation or because they were born in Barovia. So it did kind of make me chuckle when you were talking about your epilogues being like, oh yeah, we'll come and visit whenever we want. It's like, no you won't. You will need someone with either the plane shift spell or someone that has very distinct ties to a portal that leads you to Barovia for you to be able to visit Aurora and Azazel, for example. Barovia is its very own ecosystem, and it's very hard to leave, but also to get there once you've left.
So does that mean then that its entrance/exit through the mist changes? Or are those like constant places?
Oh, it fully changes. Back when Strahd was in control, it was him reaching out and saying, oh, I think you will be fun to play with. And gripping you from wherever you came from. It's why people from Eberron were able to end up in the same place as the Forgotten Realms. It also means that technically after Strahd's death, because Azazel is the one controlling it, whether he knew it or not, he was the one allowing people in and out.
What was another fun little thing for Azazel?
Mm-hmm.
About the winery. No, not the winery. But that, in Barovia, that's where they stayed with, what's her face in the
Are you
family.
talking about the Blue Water Inn?
Yeah, isn't it in Barovia? Or no?
It's in Vallaki.
Damn. Okay, never mind. I'll save that for when we go to Vallaki.
Well, no, that's the thing. Like, because we're talking about locations, you can talk about Vallaki if you want.
It's kind of a stupid question, actually.
Ask away. If it's something that you want an answer to, like, now is the time. There is no stupid questions.
I'm pretty sure we ran out of gold. So I was wondering how much it had accumulated to staying in the inn.
Well, they were already giving you, like, a discounted service because you were essentially doing what they wanted you to do, which was face Strahd. You, in fairness, didn't owe them that much. I think it will have come to, like, 10 or 20 gold. But that is easily repayable.
I just remember we gave all the gold to Azazel, and he vanished. This is more of a comment. I just feel bad we never really solved their problem with the wine.
We did.
It was on our check. Did we? Well, because I figured it was on our checklist.
Yeah, I believe we did take some barrels back.
Yeah, it was because the druids were taking up point in the winery, and we all Queenie died driving them out. So then their wine supply was back. They were just like, hey, can you find the gems that we need to make it go faster? And we were like, oh yeah, totally. And we found the druids had one, and we were like, oh, we're not fucking with them right now. And then Azazel eventually stole the gem. But we didn't find the one that was with Babala Saga, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, technically, as a group, you never actually brought any gems back to the winery, so they're just working off the very limited supply that they have.
Stopping them if I'm going to get it.
No, there were many things stopping them from going to get it, including Babala Saga. And also just a load of druids.
Can you explain the story behind the coffin house? Or the coffin shop?
Oh, completely. So Strahd had gone to Henrik, the owner of the coffin house, and essentially bribed / strong-armed him into housing 6 of his spawn in the upper levels. And at first Henrik was there like, yep, that's completely fine. As long as they don't interfere with my business, I'm more than fine with them being up there. Then Strahd gives Henrik another mission. And he says, steal the bones from the church so that I can attack the priest. Henrik is there like, oh, I don't want to involve myself directly, so he pays the gravedigger to unearth the bones that are protecting the church, and he steals them. So that entire quest line is, hey party, you've been told by the priest that these holy enchanted bones have been stolen from the crypt beneath the church. You need to figure out what's going on, because if you don't, Strahd is going to attack this unprotected church. I mean, you as a group figured it out. You were there like, okay, we're going to interrogate the right person, we're going to head to the coffin shop, and admittedly, 3 of you died fighting the vampire spawn. But then you went back afterwards, found the bones, and said, okay, we're going to take these back to the church. And if you hadn't have done that, then there would have been a whole other side quest where Strahd would have ambushed the church, killed the priest inside, essentially taken over Vallaki, because there then would have been no holy space to keep him out. He would have corrupted everything. So that was one of the few quests where I think you'll remember in the very beginning in our session 0, I reminded you that some of the quests would have been time sensitive. That was one of them. If you hadn't have collected the bones, and if you hadn't have done that in a timely manner, Strahd would have essentially assaulted the church and taken over before the festival, and before any of you would have had a chance to be like, oh, let's put our foothold in Vallaki. He would have said no and just taken over because he could.
What an asshole.
Big oof.
Also, Luke is asking what was up with the coffins in the Strahd's castle, like when we were getting teleported from one place to in the coffins.
Yes. So essentially what Strahd had done is put 3 traps outside the gate that led to his actual tomb. And if any of you stood in that like 2x2 square in either the front, the left, or the right of the entranceway to his tomb, you were teleported into a crypt that contained 14 undead soldiers that were loyal to him and would have ripped you to shreds. So, realistically, all of you could have been teleported into that like little dungeon space at the bottom, and he would have just had undead soldiers ready to defend his tomb. That's why when I was there like, oh, and Sonda, you're gone. And then I would replace your token with an undead soldier. It's like, oh, you've swapped places with that one undead person. And now they're fighting the party because they're there to defend his tomb.
Interesting.
Oh, there were so many things in Barovia that technically you speed ran through. And that's not a thing of, like, poo-poo to you. Like, you did the exact right thing. But it was the thing of, like, oh, there's so many things that you technically missed and you didn't explore, but that's fine because you were so focused on, I need to find his tomb, that you just kind of bypassed everything. And that's not a wrong or a right answer. You did, as a party, what you felt like you needed to do.
I'm going to kind of backspring off of Luke's question and ask about Strahd's castle. And, like, how many floors were there actually? Because that map, I remember Ray being like, yeah, the map is gigantic. And, like, what were the traps and the, like, things that we didn't fight that were in there?
Also, just side note, if nobody has ever seen it, literally just go onto, like, the clock app and literally just search up, like, Curse of Strahd, like, Ravenloft Castle to scale. It is bonkers. It is ridiculously big.
So, to answer your question, Ness, there are 12 levels to Ravenloft. 2 of them being subterranean basement/crypt levels, and then the other 10 being ground floor up into the highest towers. The main thing that you didn't find was the things that were connected to your tarot reading.
Yeah, because wasn't there something about a woman with fire hair chained to a wall?
Yeah. If you'd have found Strahd's study, there would have been an entire portrait of Tatiana on the wall. And in front of that would have been a book that would have given you a lot of insight into Strahd, his personality, his past, that would have given you a level up. And also insight into the castle at large. And then, if you'd have actually braved if you remember correctly when I told you in the tomb, there's one of them that seemed to be behind, like, this blue shimmering light. If you'd have managed to get past that blue shimmering light, you would have found an enchanted sword that was actually connected to Sergei.
Oh, wow.
That was the other part of your card reading. Like, it was a very powerful, legendary sword that would have given you, like, big bonuses to damage for whoever decided to use it. It just so happened that with your card draw, you ruled that a lot of the things were in Ravenloft. So it's like, oh, you're going to have to go in once to, at the very least, find half the things you need.
And instead we found a stick.
Yeah, instead you found a stick and you killed the man.
Get wrecked, idiot.
But it wasn't the talking stick.
It was not the talking stick. But the other thing, the main thing, I guess, that you didn't see in Barovia was something called the Heart of Sorrow. So essentially, there was one massive tower that climbed all the way from the base level of Ravenloft all the way up to the top. And at the very top was this gigantic heart-shaped crystal. And that was the thing that was behind Strahd's invulnerability.
Ah, okay.
So essentially, Strahd could funnel a certain amount of damage into that crystal and him not take any damage. But it would get to a certain point where there was a limit. And if the crystal took more than a certain amount of damage, it could break and he would lose it. So he would then have to stop channeling damage into the crystal and start taking it to his physical form. There was a whole quest line where you could have tried to climb up this tower fighting vampire spawn as you went and make it up there to destroy the Heart of Sorrow so that Strahd never had that ability again. And you could like genuinely sincerely nerfed him if you'd have decided to be there like, oh yes, we're going to climb this tower, we're going to fight the things that are getting in our way, and we're going to destroy this gigantic crystal heart at the very top of it. But you never decided to do that.
So we just took this amulet off of him.
Well, you decided to take one amulet off of him and then he made another one.
Ah, fair enough.
He was there. He was there like, oh, stealing the amulet isn't actually a thing. Like, when I can just make another one.
Yeah, but it didn't help him in the end. So.
I mean, technically he did. Because it was the thing of like, it stopped him from taking a lot of damage from the spawn very early on. Like, even though you were technically beating him with action economy, like, there was a moment where he was taking no damage because of the Crystal Heart. And it's one of the reasons he lasted so much longer in that fight than he should have. Luke is asking, I'm curious, was there any huge bosses that could have been a party wipe in one go, or any just extremely difficult bosses? I will get back to that question, Luke, because I'll get that to when we talk about monsters and enemies, but that is a very good question. But more in terms of Ravenloft, it was this idea of learning more about the guy. Like, each of the floors had its own purpose, I guess the best ways of putting it. Whereas, like, each floor that you went up and you explored, it's like, oh, this would have been used for this would have been used for this, and you can kind of see the ruler that Strahd used to be before he fell into vampirism. And the kind of person that was like, oh, like, you would have held court here, and you would have had guests here, you would have had dinners here. But Ravenloft in itself is incredibly hard to map out, as Sarah has probably seen when I was there, like, hey, can you upload this map for me? And just looked at it, been like, what the fuck is this? Any more questions? Anything else about...
Is there any place... Is there any place you really wanted us to go that we didn't go to?
Oh, there was a couple. I think the werewolf den would have been very interesting. Specifically before/after Strahd's castle, considering you killed one of the NPCs linked to that questline.
Oh.
The Amber Temple, just as a general, because only one of you was able to experience that. In fairness, though, you covered the good majority of it. Some of it admittedly only happened during the epilogue, but there isn't too much that you missed as a group. There are a couple, like, I think there's two major locations where it's like the Werewolf Den and the Amber Temple that you didn't touch on at all. Everything else was kind of hinted at, or you were able to explore a little bit during the epilogue.
Had we gone to the Wolf Den, what would we have learned or, like, picked up, or...?
So one, because of the way that we started the campaign, you would have found the children that had been abducted. So that would have been a very clear link, one to the other, of, oh, this is the reason that we started this adventure in the first place. We have found the children that were abducted from their homes, and we can now try to bring them home, once all of this is sorted. The main thing was a big disagreement between Emil, the guy that you killed, and the guy that had taken over as the alpha of the squad. There were many murders and deaths happening that some of the group members didn't agree with, that if you'd have managed to politic your way through it, you could have got the werewolves on your side. If you'd have gone that route. But instead, Emil, out of servitude and panic, attacked you guys in the chapel. You killed Emil, and therefore, as like a hanging thread in the epilogue, the werewolves were kind of left unchecked and kept abducting children. Because no one officially went out there to deal with them.
That was
I have a
an oversight.
question.
Go for it.
My friend that was chained up and I killed accidentally.
Yes.
What's his story? Why was he there?
How
did he end up like that?
I think he told you in the moment, but essentially he'd been...
But I want the in-depth of it.
That's fair. So essentially, this guy had been arrested because he'd been protesting against the burgomaster's methods. He essentially was there because... There's no other way of putting it. It was the thing of like, he'd spoken out, the burgomaster didn't like it, so he got arrested. And before you had chased Strahd outside of town, he had been tortured by Strahd. And then because Strahd had ran, because you had essentially highlighted his obsession with Irina to the point that the burgomaster didn't trust him anymore, you weren't able to figure out anything else. But yeah, he was essentially arrested because he didn't believe in the burgomaster's beliefs and he didn't agree with the way that he was treating his townsfolk, and had been arrested because he thought like it was better to lock up someone that was against him rather than to like have someone spouting propaganda in the streets.
If he had lived, would he be like, what would have happened?
He would have been reunited with his mother. You had all met, or at least had tangentially met his family because they were at the church praying for his well-being before you'd gone searching for the gravedigger. So as all these little events were connected in the sense of his family were there hoping that he was safe, and he was there rotting in a jail cell. So he would have been reunited with them. That would have been like a nicer ending for the people of Lackey. They would have had a little bit more faith in you as heroes. But in the grand scheme of things, it wouldn't have changed that much. It would have just been like for the story.
Okay, that's what I wondered. Would he have been like more of an ally to us or something?
He would have been more of an ally in the sense of you could have used him to rally the people behind you and gotten a little bit more good faith. But in terms of creating like an army, he wouldn't have been like that big of a thing.
Okay. I feel better on that.
But instead you killed him in a jail cell and his mother is still there praying, wondering what happened to her boy.
I wasn't trying to. The dice hated me. The dice, I'm telling you, the dice of Curse of Strahd for all of us just were not friendly.
Bum.
Except for maybe Azazel, that was it.
Was there anything useful that we could have found in, like, the Lady Watcher's house, or was that just... Was there nothing useful there?
Oh, yeah. If you'd have found the secret room in the library, which I believe Azazel did, then there were multiple documents there to show that the Watchers have been in league with Strahd for generations. So it wasn't just a, oh, this is the recent thing, this is a, oh no, this is a systemic, they have been in league with him for many generations, it's a boiled in thing, like they were never to be trusted. One major thing that you didn't discover in the Watcher's house is that if you'd have actually gone into one of the bedrooms, you would have found her daughter. Because in recent history, all anyone cared about was her two sons. But in one of the bedrooms, you would have found her daughter driven insane, fully believing that she was a cat. And she, she was chained to the wall. She referred to herself in the third person as Little Kitty. And again, another person struck by madness in this place that was Barovia. She was a subplot that you guys never touched on, but she was essentially driven mad by the Burgomaster's son. And that's one of the reasons that the Watcher hated the Burgomaster so much.
Jeez, that's awful.
Essentially, you never actually interacted with the Burgomaster's son, but he is a burgeoning wizard. He found a magical book. He's been working on a teleportation circle. That was a whole subplot that you guys never touched on because you never went looking for his son. But essentially, Stella, the daughter, was engaged to Victor, the Burgomaster's son, and when Victor met Stella, he essentially was there like, she is so incompetent, I want nothing to do with her, she's so thick, she's better off being an animal than an actual human person, and without meaning to, fully casted a feeble mind spell on her.
Jeez.
So Stella was forced into this madness of fully believing that she's a cat.
This poor girl.
Yeah. And it's one of the reasons that the Watcher hated the Burgomaster, because she was there your son did this, and the Burgomaster's no, he didn't. Your daughter just couldn't handle the rejection and went insane. So while she had her own, things with Strahd, she also, had her own motivations. So it was the thing of, you would have found her daughter, potentially, and potentially cured her of her madness. That depends on how much diamonds you were willing on using. And then in the master bedroom, you would have found the corpse of Lord Watcher.
Oh.
Because Lord Watcher died many years ago. This is a thing of this is not necessarily ancient history, but this is a good 6-7 years ago. And the Lady Watcher has been casting gentle repose on him every day. So if you'd have just managed to get into her bedroom, there would have been a corpse on the bed with coins over its eyes, and it would have looked like it died that day. But that was the Lady Watcher's big secret. Even her kids didn't know about that. It's the fact that she had a funeral for their father, and they buried him as far as they are aware, and they mourned him, but she has kept him on their bed in the master bedroom for years, with the idea being that one day she'll be able to bring him back to life. She just never had the power to do so. So as the party, you could have walked in and been there like, there's a corpse on the bed.
And it still wouldn't have been the strangest thing we'd seen.
Very true. Any other questions about the locations of Barovia? The villages, the towns, the places?
What was the deal with Crash? Because we went there like a few times, but we never actually like explored Crash much, other than that burgomaster's house and the abbey.
No, that's fair. So Kresk, as a village, is a small little isolated place where they are fully self-reliant, other than the wine that they receive from the Wizard of Wines. They have their own little village, a small patch of trees where if they need lumber or if they need their own, I guess, wildlife is the best way of putting it, like they are very self-sufficient, but because of their fear of the outside world and of Strahd, they are fully self-contained. They don't want to interact with the outside world and they want nothing to do with you. This is further compounded by the Abbey. So the Abbey of St. Markovia is genuinely like a religious holy site, but it has been co-opted into an asylum by the abbot. Now the abbot, we will potentially get into later, but he created the Bellevues. Like, that wasn't a lie. He turned them into these animal hybrid creatures, and it's the Bellevues that are disturbing the graves of the Kresk citizens. If anyone dies in Kresk, they are not necessarily at rest, because at any point the Bellevues could come down from the abbey and loot the graves, whether that is for material components for the abbot, or they want to eat the flesh of decomposing corpses.
Oh, jeez.
So the
Morbid.
So the entire thing of Kresk is the villagers are riding this incredibly fine line between self-reliance and if we don't do what the abbot tells us to do, he could sick the Bellevues on us at any point. Because I think I did the maths and it was the Bellevue family didn't outrank the village of Kresk in the sense of there was more villagers than Bellevues, but with the Bellevues animal like stitchery, they could overpower any standard commoner. So if they went to war, the people of Kresk versus the Bellevues and the abbot, the Bellevues would win. So it was this very tenuous truce between, like, we're just trying to get on with our lives. And we're just trying to believe that the abbot has our best interests at heart.
That's really sad, actually.
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing more questions being asked about characters, which is completely fair, but I want to just make sure that we answer all the questions related to Barovia as a place. So is there any more questions about that before I start to answer the questions based on NPCs and notable characters?
I just have one more question about Barovia in general.
Mm-hmm.
There probably isn't, but is it possible that anywhere there could have been a way for them to get back to like the regular plain Earth thing, or was that completely magical?
completely magical.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, completely magical and up to Strahd. You would have not been able to leave until Strahd was dead.
Okay, because I didn't know if there were like any secrets that, like, any hidden portals or anything that we could have accidentally came across.
No, that's a great question. And genuinely, the module is very clear in the sense of, like, as soon as you're there, you're not getting out unless Strahd says so. So then it was the thing of, you to get out, you had to kill Strahd.
Alright, fair enough. Done deal.
The wizard's tower that we went into where like all magical effects stopped. What was on the top floor of that? Because none of us like went up there.
No, that's very true. The best way of putting it is living quarters. There was a bed, a desk, place for storage. It was a living area that Van Richten had co-opted to be his own. But whoever built the tower had made their living quarters on the top floor.
Could they... Was it possible to ever make the tower not absorb magical powers? Was there like a switch or something?
No. That was one of the effects that came with the tower. Unless you cast a high enough level dispel magic, then you wouldn't be able to do that. Let me check. I think you would have had to get like a level 7 dispel magic to do that. Because it was a anti-magic shell or anti-magic dome, whatever the spell is called. Looking at the other DMs in the room here.
Anti-magic field.
Yes. And that, I believe, is a 6th level spell off the top of my head, so you would have had to have cast a 6/7th level dispel magic to get rid of. So in other words, something that was like past your level of like being in a party. Not I think any of you had
definitely.
dispel magic prepared anyway.
I never had it.
Alright then. Any other questions about Barovia as a landscape? Anything about the locations, about the place, about the lore behind it?
Why does it exist in the first place?
No, that is a great question. Essentially, Barovia was a part of the Forgotten Realms. It was its own country. It was its own space. And then when Strahd took over and assumed his vampiric powers, he made it into a demiplane and siphoned it off from the outside world. So it was an area of space and of time that did exist. And then over time, people in the Forgotten Realms just kind of assumed that it was a myth or a legend because it wasn't part of any geographical map that they had anymore. But it was a real place that Strahd, as a human, fought for and took over, and then as a vampire turned into a demiplane.
Interesting.
Anything else? Okay. If anyone comes up with any questions, feel free to pipe up. But we are going to move on to Section 2, NPCs and notable characters. This is where I can start to answer some of the questions in the chat. So if you give me a second, I'm going to pull up my phone. what did the people of Barovia think of the party, as in actual heroes or just incompetent? There was definitely a mixed bag. The people of the village of Barovia thought that there was something to them because they were able to escape the death house, the haunted house that was at the very beginning of the campaign. But because not many people lived in Barovia, it didn't really have that much of an outreach. The Vistani had a mixed bag. Half the Vistani wanted to kill them because they belonged to Strahd. The other half wanted to protect them because they belonged to Madame Ava. The people of Vallaki had a positive opinion of the party because they were fighting for their freedom, but the fight between the Burgomaster and the Watcher kind of stopped them from having like a full opinion. And then the people of Kresk were fully willing to die for the party. They had seen the effort that they were willing to go to for them and were willing to just throw their lives on the line. And for a lot of them, they did. And they are now corpses in Castle Ravenloft. Did the Burgomaster die? One of the Burgomasters died. The man that was in charge of Kresk died. And his child has now been left to take up the mantle, although he has a regent in the form of one of the Dusk Elves that has taken over sort of the village of Kresk in that moment. The Burgomaster for Vallaki is still alive and is very much one of the people that is helping Azazel and Aurora establish whatever rules they want to establish. And then the Burgomaster for the village of Barovia is Ismark. And when he heard that Irina is somewhere safe and is genuinely being looked after, he quite happily threw his hat in the ring and said, I'm willing to back Azazel and Aurora if it means that they're going to lead our country to somewhere better, somewhere greater. Anything
Okay, so
else?
one of them did die. So
Yes. One of the Burgomasters did die, and his role has been taken over by the elves that were a part of the second Vistani group, but have now kind of reclaimed Kresk as their own, since no one is living there now.
That kind of sucks. That dude helped us so much.
Well, that's why I kind of said, because I remember you saying Burgomaster. I just couldn't remember which one.
Yeah, there were three at any one point across Barovia, because essentially the equivalency of a Burgomaster is a mayor. So it's like the mayor of this specific village/town. But any other NPCs and notable characters that you wish to talk about?
I want to know everything about Madame Ava. Give me the deets.
Okay, this is where we are heading to extreme spoilers, so if anyone doesn't want to hear this, tune out now and I'll put a timestamp in the YouTube video. Madame Ava is the half-sister of Strahd.
What?
Hello?
Beg your biggest fucking pardon?
Yeah. If you remember when we went to Argynvostholt, you remember the Revenant saying that a woman called Ava told them to not go up to the castle because Strahd had already died, which was 300 years ago. Same Ava.
There was a hint in the back of my head that maybe it was. Purely because, these things are not usually just coincidental.
So it says because in the back of the book it gives a whole appendix to be NPCs and this is the backstory. Madame Ava is the half-sister of Strahd. She is the byproduct of Strahd's father having relations with one of the maids in their royal court. So while they share a father, they do not share a mother.
So his
And
father was a bit of...
yeah. And then when Ava found out that her brother had become essentially this abomination, she prayed to Madam Midnight to allow her to become this timeless entity that would be able to help people defeat her half-brother, and Madam Midnight obliged. So Ava, while she looks like an old human woman, and don't get me wrong, she is bloody old, while she looks to be like in her 70s, 80s, she is actually over 400 years old.
Jesus.
And she is there as a thing for the party to be there like, I'm here to help you beat the atrocity that is my brother.
Okay.
Ouch.
Because as soon as you said half-sister of Strahd, I started thinking, was she trying to lead us astray?
Oh no, if anything, quite the opposite. She was fully on your side and was fully there to be there like, I'm going to give you all the tools you need to beat him. That's why she gave you the card reading. To be there like, here's directions to everything you need that could beat him. Like, if you have this, it'll help you. If you have this, it'll help you. If you have this, it'll help you. Here's directions on how to find him once you actually get to the castle. Here is a person to be able to help you. Like, she gave you Esmeralda. But yeah, her backstory is that she is the half-sister of Strahd, and her whole purpose for living is that she is there to kill Strahd.
So then what did she do after we defeat him?
In the nicest way possible, she dies.
Fair enough.
Why?
Well, because in her eyes, like, Strahd is dealt with. Like, she has no reason to stay alive. She's been staying alive out of pure bitterness and spite and, like, the need to kill her brother.
Okay, on one hand, love a queen who lives for spite. Second, this kind of really changes the whole relationship vibe between her and Amira then.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. Because realistically, if Amira had stayed in Barovia and not gone to Eberron, she would have passed down her mantle as Madam Midnight's champion to Amira, and given that power to her, and been like, you are now going to be her embodiment and avatar in Barovia, and it not be me anymore. And she would have just like passed on into the night. But, you know, Amira was there like, I would rather go to Eberron, which is completely fair and fine.
Carrying off of the Vistani stuff, way back when we first went to the Vistani, I remember gave the one guy a piece of her dress as a me try and get away. What would have happened with that if she would have given something more personal?
The exact same thing that happened with the piece of your dress. It was given to Strahd and he used it as a conduit for a scrying spell.
Fair enough.
It just would have acted as a stronger thing for you to act against. I don't know if people remember, but every now and again I'd be like, oh yeah, roll a wisdom saving throw, and I wouldn't tell you what it was about. It was Strahd scrying on the party and being like, where are you?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how often did that get used against her then?
more than you would care to admit.
He saw Azazel and Aurora fuck.
Probably. Let's be honest.
Oh, God. The dirty scoundrel.
But
yeah,
there
he's the
were...
kind of freak as well who wouldn't, like, stop watching either.
No. Well,
He would have gotten off on it.
there were so many points where you were there like, how did Strahd know that we were here? And I'm like, because he scried on you, knows where you are, and appeared.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously you didn't know that. But no, he had parts of multiple people in the party to be there, like, even if you split up and did different things, like, he could decide to look in on other people.
Don't like how you phrased that.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah?
And I'm sure one of us wants to know more about this too. The Hag and Amira. And the I can never sleep spell whatever thing.
Mm-hmm. We will talk about that when we get
Tell us more
to...
about that.
We'll talk about that when we get to monsters and enemies.
Ah, okay. Sorry, Greg, I tried.
It's gonna be spoken about at some point, it's fine.
So, any other NPCs and notable characters that people want to talk about?
I want to know more about Irina and Tatiana and Sergei and, like, that part of things. Because I know that Sergei was Strahd's brother.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I want more details.
That's fair. You would have all gotten these details if Azazel had shared that book with you before he gave it back to Strahd.
Oh,
Because
man.
it's essentially all in that book. But the basic nutshelled version of that storyline is that Strahd, when he was still a human, fought against the armies of Barovia and conquered it and installed himself as the king. And then he invited his family to live with him to basically be there like, we've been kicked out of our lands and our castles. Well, now here's our new land and our new castles. Like, come rule with me. And he didn't know this, but his parents in the interim had given birth to another son. He didn't know that Sergei existed until they rocked up at the castle. So he's there like, oh, I accept Sergei, he's 20 years younger than me, but, it's fine. Parents can have late babies, we're not going to judge them for that. Until Strahd falls in love with Tatiana. Tatiana is a villager of Barovia. She is level-headed and hard-spoken and essentially covers all the traits that Strahd likes. But she keeps calling Strahd things like old man, and then when she falls in love with Sergei, she starts calling him brother. And it's this idea of like, fuck you, Sergei, for stealing my woman, even though she was never my woman. And on Sergei and Tatiana's wedding day, Strahd kills Sergei. And it's this idea of this pact forged in blood, there's been this sacrifice given, that's what triggers Strahd's vampiric powers.
Like a real Cain and Abel situation.
It's a fully Cain and Abel situation. Tatiana, there is this horrific moment where Strahd is like reaching out to her being like, my love, and she is fucking horrified. As is natural, considering Strahd is covered in the blood of his brother, that she runs away and throws herself off the balcony that you all walk to in the epilogue.
I knew it. I called it.
Yeah, so that's why that area was such like a pivotal moment, because it's like that's where Tatiana threw herself off. if you'd have read the Tome of Strahd, it would have said, like, oh, we searched for weeks to find Tatiana's body, but it was never found. So the idea was, like, she fell to her death, but then her body was kind of taken by the mists of Barovia. And then it just kind of became Strahd's thing of, like, well, I've got to find Tatiana again. And he almost succeeded a couple of times. He almost succeeded when Tatiana was reincarnated as one of the women of Berez, the swamp village that Babala Saga now lived in. I believe Irina, as part of one of her dreams, talked to you about, like, her life in Berez. But essentially, she was reincarnated, Strahd wooed her, and he almost succeeded in getting her at that point. But then the Burgomaster and the priest of Berez killed the girl that was Tatiana.
Oh.
To stop her from, like, being corrupted with vampirism. And Strahd's revenge was to flood the village. He was like, fuck you all for, like, taking Tatiana away from me. I'm going to kill you all. There were encounters that you never had that you could have met the Burgomaster. And he would have been this horrendously tortured spectre that wasn't able to rest because of what he did to Marina/Tatiana. And then finally, Tatiana was reincarnated as Irina. And then when he found her again, he started sending his minions to attack the Burgomaster's house, managed to sneak in and bite her a couple of times, like almost converted her again. And then that's when the party showed up and became a thorn in his side.
Yeah.
So there were quite a few lives that Irina was reliving through dreams, because I was essentially there like, how do I portray that Irina is the reincarnation of Tatiana without you guys, like, finding the Tome of Strahd to, like, hear this backstory? So I was there like, she keeps having dreams/nightmares of her past lives, and when she comes to, she's explaining them to you all. And it's this thing of, like, if you keep having her with you, and if you keep exploring this storyline, essentially, you will get this broader picture that there are so many lives inside Irina, so many reincarnations, that it kind of makes more sense why Strahd is seeking her out, because she is literally the reincarnation of his lost love. Admittedly, it's unrequited, and the original soul wants nothing to do with him, but it's still there, and, like, there is a past there.
Speaking of Irina, when she walks off with the ghost, does that imply that she also passed away?
Yeah, the implication is that the soul of Tatiana has passed on and has gone into the afterlife finally. Because the point of the mist was that it trapped the souls within Barovia. That's why souls were getting recycled. And then more and more people were being born without a soul because there wasn't enough souls to go around. So after you killed Strahd, the mist has gone, the clouds have opened, and now Sergei and Tatiana are able to go to whatever afterlife they had waiting for them. So they were able to go off into the sky. So the implication is that Sergei and Tatiana have gone to D&D heaven, whatever that might be.
Luke wants to know if Strahd can ever be cured of his vampirism.
I mean, in the broadest sense of the terms, yes, because vampirism is considered a curse. So if at any point anyone cast remove curse on him and it was successful, then technically he would have just become a human man again. With some wizard abilities, because he had, like, natural spell casting as a human. But that would be a very interesting course in a battle to take, because at what point are you touching Strahd and being like, I'm going to remove your curse? Technically, the same could happen to Azazel. If at any point someone was there like, oh, I'm going to remove the curse of vampirism and touch Azazel, like, that would also technically work. It's whether he'd let you do that.
Azazel,
I don't think
buddy,
Strahd would
come
ever
give me a hug.
I don't think Strahd would ever want to lose his vampirism power, though. I don't feel like.
Oh no, he's definitely gotten to the point where it's like, this vampirism is doing me a lot more than not being a vampire, so I'm going to keep the powers. But that's one of the reasons that, so say for example, this would be a good section to talk about it. I know for a fact that I surprised Dusky with Irina, like, not necessarily coming on to Jack, but also being, like, very connected to Jack. And that's because, without even meaning to, when Dusky sent me the art of Jack, like the AI image that you're all now seeing, like, it's in the top corner, that is how I pictured Sergei. Like, and then he sent me this art and went, you know what? Without even asking Dusky if this is okay, I'm going to have Tatiana's soul almost, like, try to reach out to Jack, because in its eyes, it sees Sergei. It sees their long-lost love. It sees their fiancé. It sees this person that could be a stand-in. And Irina, the entire time, was there like, I'm not attracted to Jack. I'm not trying to get in a relationship with him. But the entire time she was there like, there's some kind of magnetic pull that is drawing me to Jack. And maybe that is attraction. Maybe that is a relationship. I don't know. But there's something about Jack that makes me want to be with him and stay close to him and not leave him. And I kind of baked that in from a very early point, like as soon as I saw the AR, like the art for Jack, I was there like, oh yeah, Irina, like I'm gonna bake this in that Irina wants to be with Jack. And I don't even mean in a relationship way, like she just wants to be with him. Beside him.
Hilarious.
There were so many times Nurin and I would be talking about like Seiya and Jack, and I'd always just be like, nope, it's never gonna work. Irina's with Jack, it's over.
Well, that's the thing. If at any point Dusky had been there like, I'm going to actively pursue a relationship with Irina, I would have then completely changed the epilogue for it to be this thing of like, no, Irina is now the soul at the forefront and she is now with Jack. But the implication being that it was Tatiana with Sergei. So as soon as...
I was half right.
Yeah.
I was half right.
Half right. So that's why when Dusky was there like, oh, if it hadn't been for the epilogue, I would have asked Irina to come with me. I was like, well, then you should have spoken up sooner, because she would have gone with you. And she would have, like, explored this relationship with you, and it would have blossomed into something.
That's A-all right, because Jack he was still in just like objective mode at that point in time. Like we still have things we need to do, so it's like, okay, we're getting back here, we need to get these other items. Like we're not out of the woods just yet. There's still other things that need to get fixed. So that happened. So Jack was just like, oh, not expecting this one.
But yeah, as a DM, I was there like, I'm dropping little hints to be there like, it's something about Jack, but it's not Jack. And people might have picked it up as I was like going through the series, but it was meant to be this thing of like, there's something about Jack, but it's not Jack, and Irina is drawn to Jack, but it's not Jack. And if anyone picked up on it, then great.
It clicked as soon as like the whole storm at the pond thing.
No, literally, I was about to say that, yeah. When the lightning struck the pond when we were doing Queenie's funeral pyre.
Yep. And it was like,
for me, it was just like that whole whisper, and when they came back and they were holding hands, and I literally sat here and I was like, okay, gotta do something else now.
Because I'm aware that this is like backtracking a little bit, but if you as a party had let Sergei take Irina at that point, like you'd have let the water touch her hand and take her into the pool, you would have never had to worry about Irina again. Let me actually flip back to the thing of Kresk to be like, I can just read out the actual event.
because I believe it was Sonder and Amira that are immediately was like, "Yep, no, get her away from the fucking water,"
Yeah.
and just like pulling her away while she's kicking and screaming.
Yeah, if
We
you
didn't know what the fuck was going on.
No, fully. And you made the correct choice as in, like, what the party knows based on what you know. But if you'd have just let the image in the lake take Irina, the spirit of Sergei takes Irina to a place where Strahd can't harm her. Like, she's safe with him. So at that point, it would have been the thing of like, oh, we never have to worry about Irina again. Don't get me wrong, she's gone, but she's now in the spirit realm with Sergei and being kept safe with him. So if you'd have just let him take her, you wouldn't have had to worry about her getting stolen or abducted by Strahd, because they would have just been together in the afterlife. But to be fair to all of you, the event, like the way that it's written, is written in a way where it's there like, oh, this is sketchy as fuck and we shouldn't let this happen. It's almost like the red herring of events.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's meant to be this thing of like, if you just trust the man in the waters, Irene, like, you never have to worry about her again for the rest of the campaign, because she's just in the spirit realm and will never be touched again.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I love how our reactions was just like, "No, keep her alive at all costs."
Well, yeah, because that's our friend. We love her.
Yeah, but like, did it not cross anybody else's mind of just like, you know, if we just kill her, all of our problems still going to go away?
Oh,
That is the wrong way of thinking of things, I feel.
Right.
I mean,
It's
technically,
like a hostage situation to be like, hey, if we just take out the hostage, we don't have a
The
hostage
fear of
situation.
unknowing.
I mean, technically, if you kill Irina, then Strahd's just there like,
This thought didn't pop into my head after like this second character death, so just like, bear with me.
So I was wondering, remember we had it like mentioned, but I admittedly kind of forgot part of it. Plus, like, hey, full story. But the Weeping Woman's daughter in Barovia.
yes.
Mad Mary.
Mad Mary.
Yes.
Azazel and Aurora would find Gertruda in Castle Ravenloft. she had been used as like a charmed blood bag since the abduction.
Huh.
So you would have been able to return her to her mother whenever you wished, realistically.
Knowing Aurora, she would have had her like nursed back to health before you got back. She's like, you're spending a few extra days here, and then we're sending you back to your mom. I know she's gonna be happy to see you.
But yeah, she was being kept in one of the upper floors that was essentially like not necessarily Strahd's bedroom, but it was like the Master King's bedroom when they were still living and needed a master bedroom.
Yeah. So probably the one that Azazel and Aurora end up.
Yeah. But yeah, this poor girl is just there in a very loosely fitting, revealing dress. And just being like, who are you? And then you find out it's Gertruda, like this 17-year-old girl that ran away from home at the very beginning of the campaign.
Fair enough.
And you're just like, let's put you in a more appropriate dress. Because it's very obvious that someone's been biting at you in every sense of the word. And, let's get you ready to send back to your mother.
Let's just heal a few of these scars and get you cleaned up.
I have a few rations. Go ahead, take as many as you want. There's a guest room over here. You'll be fine. This vampire right here, he's not gonna bother you.
And in the back of your head, you're just like, dear God, let this girl be fine.
So then there's two main NPCs that we haven't touched on yet, but I'll wait to see if there are any other questions from you guys, and then if none of them are brought up, then I'll bring them up at the end. So are there any more questions?
The Markovs.
Mm-hmm. The
I'd like to know more,
Markovs.
please.
Very fair. So the thing with Martikov starts at the Wizard of Wines, should I say. The family are the producers of wine in the area. They are the only reason that the common villager of Barovia is able to get through their day because, you know, alcoholism. But then one day, one of the Martikov children is accused of stealing the magical gem that produces the wine vines and the grapevines, and that one child is exiled. Erwin Martikov and his wife Danica go to Vallaki, where they then set up the Blue Water Inn. And while they still rely on the supply of wine, they are technically their own independent business. The Martikovs are all were-ravens, both genetically and through marriage. Every single member of the Martikov family could turn into a raven at will, and that spy network also expanded to many NPCs that you met along the journey.
Holy shit.
Including
Okay.
in raven form.
I knew there was a reason why I liked them so much. They're one of the homies.
Yeah.
No, I love Danica. She's my favorite.
There were so many moments where in universe I was there like, well, how could Danica be able to help? And I was like, well, she knows about half the shit you've been getting up to because ravens have been watching what you do. And they are either her relatives or guild members by oath, or they are like ravens that she can speak to.
Is that why Baba Lysaga was fucking with the ravens?
Yeah, because Babala Saga found out that an organization known as the Order of the Feather were fucking with Strahd.
Well, see, that's why they went wrong. They made such an obvious name. If they'd called it, like, the Order of the Scale, would have thrown them off.
But yeah, she was fully there, like, I know that this organization is trying to bring down the reign of my son, and we're gonna stop that. So she started, like, killing, torturing, and capturing ravens. The majority of the ravens that were hanging in cages outside of Babala Saga's hut were were-ravens that you didn't free.
Oh, fuck.
So the few times that Aurora did cast Speak with Animals and had like a whole menagerie, were like all of them or a majority of them ravens?
The majority of them were ravens, but then there were a couple of were-ravens in there as well that were there like, the birds aren't going to be able to give you, like, direct instruction, so I'm just going to put in an instruction here and there. So if you remember when I was there, like, being the swarm of ravens, you would get, like, so many conflicting statements, and then you would get one or two that were, like, so direct that you couldn't not listen to them.
Yeah, the prominent one that comes to mind was the one with the hags, the bag of teeth, and Aurora's just like, my head hurts.
Because the ravens were there like, evil, don't touch, da da da, but then the were-ravens would be there like, burn it, get rid of it, destroy it. So it's the two contrasting bits of the animals are scared, the were-ravens are trying to give you instruction.
Mm-hmm.
And you picked up on it, like you did destroy the bag.
Hey.
That's amazing. I always wondered about the ravens.
So there was this whole other, like, underground thieves guild called the Order of the Feather that was made up of lycanthrope were-ravens. Whereas, like, they looked like normal people, except they could also turn into birds. And there were a couple of subtle hints that I left to it as well, where it's like, Danica and Erwin had, like, silver streaks in their hair. Whereas, like, if you look at an actual raven, then it's like, yeah, their feathers aren't black.
Mm-hmm.
And there was little bits and pieces that I threw along the way. Like, for example, if I remember correctly, there was someone that helped you, like, I think someone's gear got stolen, or someone's gear got lost. And Erwin was able to be there like, yeah, we can get your gear for you, don't worry about it. And that was a were-raven sneaking into the jail and taking people's gear back.
Oh my god, I can only imagine.
Like, there were so many moments where essentially things that were about espionage were done by the Order of the Feather, because they could just hop into a building, turn into a human, steal things, and then turn into a raven and go back out the window. They had so much plausible deniability. And for you guys, to be fair, you didn't touch on it too much. Erwin and Danica were just, like, good people that ran it in, but there was so much that Danica and Erwin was doing in the background to be there, like, as the Order of the Feather, we are fucking helping you guys defeat Strahd, and you might not know it, but we're doing it.
There was definitely something there of them, like, definitely helping, but it was just, like, in some weird way, and so I don't know if anybody else thought of the thing, but it's like, when Rictavio / whatever his name is was like, thank you, was like, there's something that's going on, like an underground kind of thing. I thought it would have like an underground network. I didn't like the Raven things. No, that is bonkers.
That honestly just makes me think of Hagrid being like, if anyone wants to know anything, just follow the spiders. But in this case, follow the ravens.
Yeah. Genuinely.
And here I thought it was all just Madame pulling strings.
I mean, that
I did too, actually.
That as well. Because, like, it was a mixture of the two, where it was like Madame sending actual ravens, but then the Order of the Feather being like, well, we need to be mixed up in this as well. So you had like a double team, basically.
I thought it was all Madame.
Oh, more ravens.
Oh, and actually, I forgot about Madame. We should slot her in here. She is an NPC at this point. Oh,
So was she Mother Midnight?
yeah. In my tiredness in the last epilogue session, the big reveal that I've been building up to, I essentially spoiled by one like lazy sentence. And after you replied, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. But yes, essentially, Madame and Mother Midnight were one in the same person, and I'd even set it up that if you ever went to the werewolf den, you would find a statue depicting Mother Midnight, and the people from the original campaign being there like, wait, that looks like Madame.
Give me the fucking details. I want all of the details. I want to know about my mom.
So essentially, the way that I built it in my head is that in Barovia there are two deities. There is the Morning Lord and Mother Midnight, and because their following had essentially been diminished to a demiplane, like they didn't even have dominion over an entire universe anymore. They were incredibly limited in their power. So for someone that's outside Barovia, it would make sense that they had the power to be someone's warlock patron, but not be their deity. Because it wasn't someone that people worshipped in the Forgotten Realms. So I, from the very beginning, set it up so that Ness was there like, I'm a warlock. Oh, this is my patron. And then eventually, as the story progressed, I was going to be there like, oh yes, Madame equals Mother Midnight. Especially with the thing of like, Austra slowly becoming like a multi-class of like a Twilight Cleric, and slowly pulling Valdis and Austra together, being there like, look, you are connected by the same deity. You are connected by the same strings, and you don't even know it.
Thanks for setting us up. You're a real one.
You're welcome. But essentially,
It's a red string, ladies and gentlemen.
Muse. But essentially, if it had like gone on to the point where if you had all been the same party and no one had died and you'd gotten to these certain locations, it would have been the thing of like, wait, Mother Midnight, the deity connected to this plane, the deity that people keep saying that punished Barovians with Strahd, is linked to me. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it would have essentially been the thing of, no, that's folklore. Mother Midnight didn't bring Strahd to this place. Strahd made deals with darker powers, and she is now just trying to correct the wrongs done to Barovians. But everyone has this negative opinion of her because she is connected with all the darker sides of magic and the darker sides of existence. And Strahd, people fully believe that Mother Midnight is connected to Strahd, that it's another reason that Amira was treated so horribly by being connected to Mother Midnight. And she reached out to Valdis, being there like, I am going to essentially mold you into a machine that might be able to kill Strahd. And even if you don't, I'm going to surround you with people that will. And she didn't get that wrong.
We did do it in the end, so...
Even if you didn't, even if Valdis didn't, everyone else did.
Yeah, he just woke up a while later being like, what the fuck is happening? What is going on? Who are you? What is my name?
Yeah, I realized I unintentionally Captain America. Your ass and like wake you up. Was like, yeah, we won.
Yeah.
But, like, Ness can attest to this. We had a full, like, almost like a session 0.5, where it was like, we talked for hours about Madame and Valdis and their relationship, how they first met, and built that foundation of a relationship so that when Madame started popping up in the campaign, it made sense, because it very much was that maternal kind of relationship where this woman just wanted her baby boy to survive.
Yeah.
And then,
Didn't end up going very well.
No.
She tried.
She tried
Very hard.
She even gave, like, a slither of her divinity to someone else in the party to be there, like, come on, try and do better.
And nobody listened to him, and it all went downhill from there.
Well, even it was the thing of, like, because I discussed this with Ray when it came to Austra coming back. Suni, when she became a vampire, essentially didn't quite abandon her, but definitely distanced herself. Whereas Mother Midnight grabbed onto her and went, I am going to try and provide as much comfort as possible. Because it's this idea of, while she appears cold and distant, like, there's a reason that she's called Mother Midnight. She's caring, she's nurturing, she's maternal.
She is quite literally the person you want to go to when it is dark and scary.
Exactly. So it was this, so I gave Ray the choice of what she wanted to be when she came back to life and back to Austra, and it made sense for the both of us, for Mother Midnight to have been there the entire way. Like, when Austra's sobbing herself to sleep at night, Mother Midnight is there. One, because of Valdis and, like, the attachment that she then had to the group, but also to the thing of, you know, you're here, you're trying to beat Strahd, so I'm going to give you the support that I can, even if it is still through the Divine Gate. So I can't always be there. And I like to think, thematically, the reason that Amira never heard from Mother Midnight is because she was with Austra. And it's this idea of, like, I wish I could reply to you, dear, but I've got bigger things to worry about right now.
Understandable.
And, like, I need to be here to help this poor girl, like, get through the issues that she's getting through.
Which, to mimic Ness, very understandable. But for Amira, it's also the thing of, like, I've been hearing you in my ears since I was a child. And I'm now being abandoned.
Like, where have you gone? And it's like, I promise I'm just across Barovia.
Like, I just like, just a word, a hint, anything would be lovely. And then it's just like, on the flip side of that, being like, Austra literally being at her worst and darkest moment, and then, like, having that comfort is kind of like, you know what, we'll live with this.
Just the moment of, like, I have other children too, I kind of need to take care of them too.
But yeah, I made this deity so much more than the Dawnfather, because I was just there, like, at no point are any of you guys gonna attach to the Morning Lord. Like, let's be honest, it's just not going to happen. So I put so much effort into fleshing out, because I think people forget in D&D that the gods have their own personalities, and they do have their own niches and they have their own interests. And for Mother Midnight, it was fully the thing of Strahd has gone on for too long. People are not rightfully connecting me to him. I need to start using my powers to bring together a force that can defeat him. And she started with Valdez, making that deal, puncturing that wound into his hand as like a brand of, we are patron patry and we've made a deal. But it became so much more maternal, and it became this relationship of, I need to protect my baby boy. It's why I broke the rules within like session 2 and said, oh yeah, I'm going to just bring Valdis back to life. Because if I was a normal DM, I would have just let Valdis die on the stairs of the death house.
And again, thank you for not doing that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
But then I kind of homebrewed it in my head to be like, okay, Madame has given him one up. And it's a shame that it's been used so early, but it's been used now. And, she presented herself and breathed life into Valdis to be like, and arise, my child.
Yeah, yeah, no, when Val actually, went down in the coffin shop, I was like, that's it, folks. That's it for me. I putting so much love and care into this character, so much time and effort, and building the relationships that he does have, and having it all just pop done kind of broke me a little bit. And it was really hard to come to terms with that. And that's why I didn't really mesh with Sonder at first very much, because I was grieving basically over this massive part of who I was just getting killed. And if I was, this is me, this is a me issue, but if I didn't play so hard into what Val would do, he would have stayed alive. But, Austra and TS were still in there, and he couldn't live with himself if he just was a coward and walked away from them. It all worked out in the end, but it's still, ow.
Well, it's also one of the reasons that, as players have talked about before, I offered both Ray and Mythics different options for their characters coming back. And the reason that I didn't offer you or Dusky that same opportunity was because your souls have been sucked into the phylactery. So
Yeah.
no matter what, there was no way that you were coming back, because your souls were in a teddy bear. Otherwise, I fully would have been messaging all of you, being there like, hey, so these kind of spiritual forces are reaching out to you. Would you be up for trying this? And I would have accepted the no, but it was an option that I was fully ready for everyone. And then it would have been the thing of, oh no, they've died.
I can honestly say it was fun playing a Spectre. But the greatest memory I have of it is just trying to go through a wall with Asher. I got this. Let's go. We're gonna do it. Slams. Sorry, I can't do it. And Asher played that out so funny.
it took to make that decision to leave Austra, I spoke a lot with Ness and with Nerin to be like, I don't know what the right call is here.
Mm-hmm.
And both of you were very lovely and were just like, there is no right or wrong call here. Do what you want to do, kind of thing.
I'm honestly so glad that Azazel spoke up on that when he did, because Aurora wasn't the only one having the crisis. Do I stay or do I go? That's why she was easy to influence at that point, because it was just I seriously there's that side of her that's not her, but she's also got a self-preservation instinct, and it's just what do I do?
Yeah, no. If I was not the type of player to fully immerse myself in the character, Val wouldn't have gone back in. He would have stayed outside and regrouped with everybody and made a better plan. But because it was specifically TS and Austra in there, the two people that he actually genuinely really cared about, he was like, I'm going to fucking die, but I need to try. I need to try.
Mm-hmm. Aurora was hoping so hard. It was that thing of please get my sister out. If I remember right, Aurora was moderately hurt from that too. Also, if she'd gone back in.
I believe she was, but it was also the thing as well of, I think you said she was really low on spell slots, and it was also the thing as well of paladins don't have healing word.
Yeah. Yep, go on.
Paladins don't have healing word, so you literally would have had to have gone back into that room to basically kind of kick one of us in the shoulder to give us some hit points, and then run out again and then risk getting the opportunity attack. So I think honestly, and it is one of the, it's one thing to be able to play your character, but it's another thing to be able to help others play theirs and help guide a choice that's very difficult for you as a player to make. And so the fact that Mr. Sorrow, who plays Azazel, was able to kind of, I'm going to say expression for a bone, but it's not for a bone. It's offer a hand, offer a hand to be no, it's okay. This is fine. Your character would also consider this as well, kind of thing, by saying Aurora, come on, she's gone, kind of thing. So that there was also just a really kind of lovely moment of being no, your character is still smart. I understand this is very emotional, but, and you brushed on it before, your character has this training. That's their history. That's what they're trained for. So for Asher to be able to do that and give you that nudge was also just a really kind of lovely moment.
Yeah, especially I went back and I re-listened to their conversation, the session after when they got back to the inn, and I love the fact that at that point he's just over there okay, would what would it have meant if you had gone back, if you had died too? It would have meant nothing. You're still here, and that means something, and you have to make that count.
Yeah, and that those are kind of the exact words that Aurora needed to hear then. And it was this really lovely moment of both of these characters being exactly what I need, but both of these players as well being because obviously as players we understand that we're trying to tell a story and create these narratives and kind of weave this story together. So there's also this beautiful moment of these are what our character needs, but as players this is what we're gonna do for this story as well. And it was just really beautiful. You don't really get to see a lot of players be able to like play off each other in the exact way that like the other needs you to, and that was just like a really cool moment to like just see.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if anything, I just felt bad that Aurora just got so quiet during all of that. I was trying to figure out in the moment how to process like all of that just happened, and like me personally, when I go like that, I shut down a little bit. So that's kind of what she did. It's more of just like, I'm falling back into myself. I'm still like physically do everything, and I'm here and I'm aware, but you're not gonna get more than a few like short sentences out of me. So it was like, if anything, I felt so bad roleplay wise that she was like quiet and just giving these like short little one word like, all right, when stuff was happening. I'm just like,
That kind of broke my heart as well, because it's probably something I should have again spoken to you about a bit more, and it was the clear thing of like, clearly Aurora is grieving, but like one of the main reasons for like letting Austra go like at that moment, because we thought she was just going to be like gone, was so that like your character would have some quote unquote trauma kind of thing, because that's not something we really worked in with the twins, because like their childhoods were happy and lovely and kind and everything else, and so then like to have Austra die would be like, okay, great, this is something now that like Aurora has that Krista can play with and work through kind of thing.
Oh yeah, Aurora was fully the long it take before Barovia breaks you.
Alright. Are there any other NPCs that people wish to talk about before we move on?
Does my question that I messaged you count as an NPC?
I mean, you never... Oh, wait, no, let me scroll up to actually, like, get open your personal messages. I was about to be like, you didn't put anything in the server.
It's literally the thing I messaged you right before.
Yeah. So you asked me about the twins' lineage, so their parentage. I, as DM, to be fair, was very clear. I said that I would not answer this question until either Aurora died or the campaign ended. The campaign has now ended, so I can answer the question at the very least of what I planned for the twins' lineage, like who were their parents and who were they a product of.
Yes, please.
That's very fair. So my plans for the twins anyway, or like the story that I had crafted in my head, was that they had an angelic parent that was essentially a... It's weird to call angels minions, but that's the only word that I can think of at the moment, but they were essentially a minion of Suni. They were obviously connected to her in the sense of they were her minion, and they were connected to her plane of existence, they were connected to her outer plane, they were someone that was created through the power of Suni, but they weren't anyone that was like high up the chain, or anything that was like anyone of real power. And they saw...
Totally fair.
And they saw a moment of true beauty, where they saw a craftsman make something from a humble beginning. Someone that didn't have a lot of money, but they did the best they could with what they had, but it was still a beautiful piece of artwork and craftsmanship. And they decided to become a patron on the sidelines for this mortal. It was never any direct interaction, but essentially they pushed people to look at their craftsmanship and pushed people to acknowledge the art that they were making, to the point that they actually became a decently wealthy person because of the, I guess, exposure is the best way of putting it, like the exposure that the heavenly being was giving to them through their magic and their powers. And then it took this step further where the heavenly being was like, well, if they create such beautiful craftsmanship with their hands, what would I be able to create if we were to create something together? And that was the birth of the twins.
Ooh.
So was it mum or dad then that was the angel?
Because of the powers of certain angelic beings, I kind of left it as this almost like androgynous, hermaphroditic being, where it's like, they could be either. And it wasn't necessarily needed for the thing of detail. But essentially, the backstory that I had created was this angelic being patroned a struggling artist that made beautiful work but just wasn't getting the recognition that the angelic being believed that they deserved. And then from there, it turned into a passion project / curiosity. It was the thing of, oh, well, if they make such beautiful sculptures, like from their imagination, like the power of their hands, what could they create if we were to fuse our DNA together? And that was the birth of the twins.
Fair enough. I'm guessing mortal parent never knew about them.
Oh, no! In my head, mortal parent was very aware, but then someone higher up the chain of command basically stepped in. And they were there like, this is too much for a mortal parent to take on their own. And we are not allowing the angel to step away from their duties to then be a parent.
Okay.
So the angel that was higher up the chain took the twins and took them to the temple. So the person, like quite often you were there like, oh yeah, we imagined this person dropped us off at the temple. I was there like, yeah, that person was an angel that was like higher up the rankings than the twins' parent.
Fair.
And it was very much this thing of like, I'm taking them away from you because you're irresponsible, pointing at the angel, and you can't cope with angelic twins, pointing at the human. So I'm giving you away to a temple that will be able to raise them and actually do well by them.
Fair.
But in my head, it was always the thing of like, yeah, it's always going to be a humanoid parent and an angelic parent. I just need to figure out what the relationship between them is. And I think it started very much as like patron, patry, and then kind of evolved from there.
Okay. I like it.
But I'm aware that that's one of the mysteries that I held over the campaign, being there like, I am not going to talk about the twins. I am not going to talk about this. You will figure it out later. And I figure now is later.
Yes. Yeah, because it was a very kind of a thing of like, Aurora does, but doesn't care. It's like, there's that part of her that wants to know, but also it's like, it's not a fundamental piece of who she is that she needs to know. It's just like, oh, my lineage was brought up. Now I'm curious.
Before we move on, because of what we were talking before, I just had a question about Saya. Was there any place you wanted them to go, knowing that Saya was a specter and could do different things?
Not necessarily. There were multiple creatures in Ravenloft where if you had killed them, you would have leveled up in the Spectre. So, technically, after the defeat of Strahd, you would have got to level 2, which is, not necessarily bad, but also is still able to pass as human, I guess is the best way of putting it. So now Saya's opportunities are a lot more open because you're able to still pass for human and you're able to still interact with other people. Like, say, for example, in the Full House Guild, you don't need to necessarily worry about becoming a full, like, undead banshee, for example.
That's interesting. Now I was just curious to be like, yeah, we technically have like a / undead person. She can go through walls. I want to see what this party can do now.
Well, for me, it was always the thing of like, I'm going to leave it up to you, Mythics, to be like, where do you want this character to go? But I also had ideas in my head to be there like, oh, well, she could do this, or she could do that. Like, there's multiple ways that it could go. It's just depending on which way you want to travel.
It's very interesting. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Alright then. So, moving on to the next topic, unless there is something that anyone else wishes to ask about, technically NPCs and notable characters. Alright then, so we are moving on to our second to last category, monsters / enemies. Is there anything you wish to ask about the monsters that we faced, the enemies that you fought, things that you were confused by when you fought them? All are technically applicable questions right now. You did ask a question in chat earlier, Luke, and I'm just going to very quickly scroll up so that I can find it again. Yes, are there any huge bosses that could have been a party wipe in one go, or just extremely difficult bosses? In fairness, the entirety of the Amber Temple was in its own way just a boss battle waiting to happen. Like, it was fight after fight after fight after fight, that in each room that you went into, it was either something that you needed to figure out or something that you needed to fight to get past. If you ever went there, it was going to be a grueling slog, and that is if you ever got to the point that you got there in the first place. In terms of enemies that could have been a one-shot, potentially if you fought the Abbot, if the party got to the point where they decided that the Abbot was someone that they didn't want to have on their good side anymore, because it would have been the Abbot versus every single Bellevue in the Abbey. So action economy wise, it would have been you versus, oh, God knows off the top of my head, probably like 50 Bellevues. This is when I find the... where is it?
That's a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage.
Is the Abbot, like... is he actually a villain?
8.
Or it depends on the campaign itself?
It fully depends on the way that you treat him, I guess is the best way of putting it. So there's 3, 8, 15... 24, 34, 40, 48, 58, 60. So it would have been you versus 60 of the Bellevue clan if you fought the abbot in the abbey.
Good lord.
Because that was just everyone that he was looking after. So the best way that I can describe it is that the abbot was an angel that was sent down by the Morning Lord to help fill in the gap when, like, after Strahd had killed so many of the religious folk, the Morning Lord sent down an angel, sent down essentially his messiah to be there, like, be my voice on this earth. And he was there for many centuries. But essentially, by the way that it had gone, by the end of that timeline, and by the time that the party was coming back to, like, meeting the abbot, he had gotten to this point of, I just essentially need to make Strahd happy. And if I do, then everything will be sorted. If I can provide Strahd with this bride that he is so woefully missing, everything will be fixed and everything will be sorted. It's one of the reasons that he was preparing that girl, Vasilka, to be Strahd's bride. Because I remember that you did meet Vasilka. And it was this idea that he was grooming her, essentially, to be the Irina stand-in. It didn't help that by the time that you actually met Vasilka, I think Irina had been kidnapped already. So the timing for that was a little bit off. But essentially, Strahd was so desperate for Irina and was searching the land that the abbot was there like, if I can create a bride for Strahd, then maybe we can placate all of the murderous intentions. And like, his alignment by the end of it, if I remember, was like lawful evil, because it was this idea that he did still believe in the Morning Lord's treaties, but it had been corrupted. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah, a little bit. It's this idea of, like, Saruman being sent down to be this guiding force among the people and then getting corrupted along the way. That's definitely a good analogy for it. But yeah, that's why when it came to the epilogue, I was there like, oh, the abbot is nowhere to be seen. And that's because after the veil lifted and the Morning Lord was able to look back down upon his worshippers, he saw the abbot and just went, you're coming back home and you've got a lot to answer for. So the abbot just kind of disappeared for you guys, because it was like, well, you kept him on your good side, so you never had to fight him. And then the Morning Lord just kind of dealt with him afterwards. But yeah, there was definitely a thing of, if you'd have fought the abbot, Vasilka would have also fought against you, because I don't think any of you rolled high enough to figure out that she was a flesh golem.
Esmeralda did, I think.
Oh, potentially. But yeah, essentially, he'd been getting the Bellevues to rob the graves of the people of Kresk to stitch together a Frankenstein bride.
Didn't Aurora get a hint of that when, like, she was braiding her hair or something?
Yeah, it was
No, we didn't tell Aurora for that exact reason. It was Esmeralda figured it out and told Sonder and Jack, I think. And they were like, okay, we need to get the fuck out right now.
But essentially what had happened is the abbot had, like, used the Bellevues as pawns to be, like, dig up female body parts, and then he'd made a Frankenstein bride with the idea of, like, she's beautiful, Strahd, take her and be happy.
That would not have ended very well.
It wouldn't have ended very well, and also the fact that by that point Irina had been kidnapped. So Strahd was there like, I don't give a shit about your Frankenbride, I have Irina. So it was just bad timing on that part. To be fair, that is actually something that, talking about notable enemies and looking at Strahd, that is one of the reasons that he originally took Austra as not necessarily a bride, but someone to marvel over. It was the fact that while you two didn't look like Irina, it was this idea of beautiful women with auburn hair that he could add to his harem. If any of you, if either of you, at any point had been there like, hey, I might be suggestible to Strahd's charms and, like, actually listen to him in a conversation, he would have fully, like, tried to convert you. Like, we would have been having, like, private scenes in the Whisper Room where Strahd would have been laying out the thing of, like, you should join me instead of fighting with these misfits.
Oh boy.
We touched on that a little bit, and it's a thing of like Austra having her own kind of like past dealings in that kind of area, and also just who Austra is as being kind of like, I'm not gonna do shit that I don't want to do. It's already a thing of like, I have to do what you're saying, but there is no way that I would get into bed with you. There is no way I would listen to you willingly. Absolutely not.
Completely.
And that's probably also why, was it Mariska? Like, use her as a literal chew toy. Because Asher can't keep her mouth shut.
I do love that as a question from Luke. What was the worst possible ending for the party that wasn't all deaths? It would have essentially been as bad as it sounds, like Strahd playing with them, like not allowing them to get a long rest, not allowing them to heal, not allowing them to strategize. It would have been just a pure-blooded, I'm going to hunt you every minute of every hour of every day, exhaust you to the point that you're delirious, and then you're looking at me as the best option and you're begging me to end your life, and then I still won't. And it would be this long drawn out process of Strahd essentially just being cock of the walk and being like, I am the best and I am the brilliant and there's nothing you can do to stop me. That's probably like the worst possible ending, because even if he took over all the party and was there like, oh, you're all my spawn now, the players would just make new characters and then fight their old characters as spawn, which isn't necessarily as bad for as high a level as characters as you would have made. So in my head, I'm there like, yeah, like the worst ending is probably this long, drawn-out string where you're just forced to essentially, like, survive on the last scrap of your humanity. But technically the book But technically the book has nothing in the, like, it's very black and white. It's either you win or you lose. Because even in the epilogue, it's there like, well, if you lose, then you reset to this point, and then the party continues. Like, you would have technically gotten a new card reading to be there like, oh, this is where the stuff is now that Strahd has taken it off the other people's corpses and hidden it. But yeah, there's not really too much to that.
Interesting.
Ooh, can you touch about the hag and Ray now?
Yes.
Or rather, Amira.
Completely. So the reason that the hag even targeted Amira in the first place was just tactics. It was the thing of, this girl has access to both a physical arsenal and a magical arsenal, where if I start tormenting her in her dreams, she then doesn't get access to whatever magical arsenal she had. Like, she's not getting a long rest, so she can't get her spells back. So it then became this thing of, oh, well, I'm handicapping a member of the party. Like, tactics-wise, it was fully the thing of, I want to take away a big part of your character. And then it...
also the thing is,
go on.
Cutting me up with frenzies.
Yeah.
Because when you frenzy, you get a level of exhaustion. If I can't sleep, I can't lose the level of exhaustion. So it hindered me on both sides of being a cleric and a barbarian.
Mm.
So kudos.
It was fully like the hag's doing a tactical thing of like, I'm going to target the one person that I think this is going to be the most effective on. And then after a couple of nights, it was, okay, let's see if I can spread the effect. Because it was still like one hag going against you all. And they tried to move on to Aurora as like the next person that was like, okay, you have magic, but you're also like a martial. You can smack me with a sword. So, but then that failed. And then you started sleeping in the tower every night. So the hag was there like, well, there's absolutely nothing I can do because it's a magical ability that I'm trying to use. So I can't use it while you're inside the tower. So actually, you as a party choosing to sleep inside that tower every night was the best thing you could have done.
Were we close to ever finding the hag? Like, was she ever, like, in the same location we were? Like, how close were we?
Oh, incredibly close. There were moments where she was inside you.
Ew.
Huh? What?
I didn't consent to that.
The beauty of the ethereal plane. She could literally walk through you most points.
That's why we were like, no, Jack, you're not going in there alone to fight a hag by yourself.
Yeah, there were multiple moments.
That would have been really, really bad.
Yeah, there were multiple moments where Jack was just there like, I can go to the ethereal plane, and I was like, go for it, she's there. And then...
Honestly speaking...
Yeah?
He doesn't need to kill the hag, he just needs to get the hag to want to go back out of the ethereal plane.
What are you gonna do, annoy her to death?
Yeah, by golly, yeah!
Meanwhile, she's just firing off magic missile every turn, being like, back her off!
He's armed with charms and a pack of cards, ladies and gentlemen.
Your work contrition.
Mm.
Honestly speaking, thinking about it, because it's the blink spell that he had, it's a possibility that could have worked. Some people on the outside are ready to just heal Jack whenever he pops back into existence, before he pops right back out.
Yeah, we were not just going to make you into bait. Absolutely not.
Yeah, and then it essentially took a, the equivalency of like a planar binding ritual for the hag to be like dragged back into the material plane for then Amira and Madame Ava to deal with her. So like, in my head, there was like a side quest where Amira and Madame Ava were like, oh yeah, we're gonna kill this hag. And they do kill her, like, eventually, but it takes a lot. Which is one of the reasons that Madame Ava did not join you in, like, that final fight, because it took a lot out of her to just, like, bring the hag into the material plane and force her to stay.
That's so fair.
Went for a dentist and broke her teeth as well, just for good measure.
As it should be.
I just remember, like, when Ray switched out Amira and Amira went off, I felt like I was left on a cliffhanger. I was like, wait, how does this end though? do you get the hag? Do you keep sleeping? Like, tell us. And then I was like, all right, gotta keep that. Sorry, I know that was probably Ray's question to ask, but it had been gnawing at me.
Well, I had also kind of known the outcome of that, so it wasn't actually a question that I had. So, thanks for bringing it
I'm
up.
sorry.
No, you are all good.
I really just wanted to know. I wanted to know everything.
Speaking of everything, is there any other questions for any monsters / villains / enemies that you faced as a group?
What the fuck was up with Baba Lysaga? Why was she being weird with the Strahd baby? If he wasn't actually her kid, that's weird. Stop it. Get help.
I mean, not that far off. She genuinely was his mother's midwife.
Oh.
So she was there when Strahd was born. Like, she birthed him.
Is this a hand that rocks the cradle situation?
Not sure what you mean by that. But, essentially, Baba Lysaga, as a very old woman, got it very much into her head that Strahd was her son. It was the idea of, like, she brought him into this world, even if it was just through the thing of midwifery. Like, she brought him into this world, so he is her son. And that became her mental delusion. She genuinely believes and sees Strahd as her son. And the reason that she's been able to live for so long is that she would do magic rituals where she would essentially bathe herself in sacrificial blood, which is one of the reasons that she had a bathtub that was absolutely stained in red in the corner of her little hut. But she did that every moon cycle, and it stopped her from aging. Baba Lysaga. She pulled an Elizabeth Bathory, and it actually worked. Baba Lysaga is older than anyone in this campaign. Other than the gods. But that's, yeah, here or there. Like, Baba Lysaga is ancient. And that's why people thought that she was a hag. Because she was living for so long. When actually, I think she's like a 14th level wizard? What is she classed as? A 16th level spellcaster.
Oh, great. I am so glad we did not fight her. Oh my god.
Same.
Yeah, she had access to 8th level spells.
Oh, we would TPK instantly. Oh my god.
I mean, potentially not because of action economy, but you wouldn't have just been fighting her, you would have also been fighting the hut.
I didn't ask how big the room was. I said I cast Fireball.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be in a were-hut.
Oh, very possible to fight Baba Lysaga. I have had other players kill her, again due to, like, just pure action economy, because there's only so many things a woman flying in a hollowed out hill giant skull can do. But if you get within melee range of her, she has multi-attack, so get smacked with a big stick.
The power of bonk.
Power of bonk compels you.
Well, we should have did what we did just try to just go in and just take the talking stick and just bonked and jabbed and argue with her, but not let her use the talking.
But yeah, because you walked up to her with, like, no malicious intent and you were literally there like, we're here to ask a favour for a favour in turn, she was like, I've got no reason to attack you guys, so I'm gonna not. And it wouldn't have been until you were malicious with her that she was gonna be malicious with you. Like, she gave you genuine advice when she cast... Like, she literally cast the spell True Seeing on herself, which is a 6th level spell, just to see if the hag was following you guys.
Bet she got real mad when she realized that we killed Strahd.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That would have been a whole side adventure. Maybe we'll do a one-shot based on that, with, like, you guys going to kill Babala Saga. Who knows? But that can be for future discussions, future problems. Great question from Luke. Strahd's brides. Was there any way they'd ever betray him, or at least just leave? The easy answer is no. But that's because of the laws between vampires and the spawn that they sire. Because technically, every single one of his brides is a spawn that he is the master of. So even if they wanted to, they could never run away from him. They could never just leave. They have to follow his instructions. And don't get me wrong, a lot of them are given free reign in the sense that they are allowed to do within reason what they want to do, especially if they've gotten to that level of trust. But at no point could they leave him. The only one that in the book says leaves him is the male spawn that you encountered in that little living room. I need to find Escher, yes. He is the only one that leaves, and that's because that happens after Strahd is dead. So after his sire is killed, Sesher is finally given free will. And that is the only point that a spawn is actually allowed to have free will of their own decisions when their sire is dead. So Escher is somewhere in the land of the Forgotten Realms living his full life as a now fully formed vampire. Because he was let free of his abusive sire. So Escher is out there somewhere, doing something.
Good for him. I hope he's living his best life.
Yeah.
Nuri wants to know... Oh, sorry. Continue.
No, you go.
Nurin says, oh, what happened to that spawn? Where did he go?
I mean, there's no specifics in the book. It just says that he goes off into the Forgotten Realms and begins to live a life of free will for once. He is actually finally able to, after decades, maybe even centuries of being under Strahd's thumb, able to just live his best life. So, he's out there somewhere. But to be fair, from the sounds of it, it's more of a life of discovery more than rampage, because I think it would say in the book if he was just ripping people to shreds as he went. So, I'm guessing it's more of a discovery of culture than just I'm going on a blood rampage through the little villages.
Yeah, I imagine he's been there for a hot minute, so he wants to see what has changed. Wants to go see the world, experience new things, meet new people.
Yeah, because if I Da-da-da. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. Escher, this is literally like word for word what it says in the book. Escher, in particular, leaves the realm in search of new experiences and a way to become a vampire lord himself. So he's going out there, he's getting the knowledge, wanting to build his power a little bit, but he's probably doing the first bit like under the radar.
Won't blame him at all.
Anything else? Any other villains that you wish to talk about?
I don't know if they would like categorize as villains, but the souls at Argynvosthold, since we brought the skull and the shield back, are they finally laid to rest?
Great question. The easy answer is yes. Like, as soon as you bring the skull back, they are immediately put to rest. It's this idea that now that the calming influence of Argynvost is being put over the knights, they are actually able to move on, especially since, because the mist is now gone from Barovia, they're no longer trapped in this cycle of being respawned and then put into new bodies. Like, their souls are actually able to move on to this new area of afterlife, I guess is the best way of putting it. Yes, because it says that once the skull is put back, the revenants that haunt Barovia see the light as a reminder of all that was once good and noble about the knightly order to which they once belonged. They let go of their hatred and their corporeal bodies, leaving corpses behind as their spirits find rest at long last. So they're actually able to just go to the afterlife.
Good for them.
But yeah, the entire thing, like the whole quest line of that, was that you were to find the skull in Ravenloft. Because there were quite a few like quests that were there, like, go to Ravenloft and then escape Ravenloft so that you can complete the quest and then go back to Ravenloft later. And it's like, I'm not sure how I feel about that as like a quest design, but it's what it wanted you to do. Because the generic bonuses for bringing the skull back to Argynvosthold was that you just got a flat +1 bonus to your AC and saving throws. So you just got a +1 to all of your saving throws. And then the revenants were able to move on to the next life. So there were less hostile encounters that you could find on the road because there were no longer any revenants moving about.
What about Argynvost, like his soul? Like, did he also get put to rest, or is he still like making sure that everything is okay?
He would have technically been put to rest after you killed Strahd and then returned his skull, because at that point then the full skeleton was able to be put together, and at that point he then goes to whatever afterlife he is deciding to go to. Probably to the Halls of the Platinum Dragon. Anything else? In that case then, I open up the channel for a free-for-all. This is any other questions that may have confused you, or I haven't touched on yet, or oh, you've just thought of the thing that could have been talked about earlier, but it's okay because you've thought about it now. Open to anyone and anything.
I personally would like to know more about Esmeralda and Van Richten and like that whole thing. And just Esmeralda in general, she seems like a very interesting character.
Their backstories are very intertwined. Essentially, Van Richten was a monster hunter, and like that was still the same. But at one point his son was kidnapped and held for ransom. The people that kidnapped his son took him to a vampire lord, and he turned Van Richten's son into a vampire spawn. Van Richten kills the vampire and then kills his son, because the son begs to be essentially put out of his misery, like he doesn't want to live as this monstrosity, so he is forced to kill his own son. It's later that we find out that the pair that kidnapped Van Richten's son in the first place is Esmeralda's parents. So later on, Esmeralda finds Van Richten and essentially forces herself upon him in the sense of like, I want to learn how to hunt monsters like you do. And it's one of those tenuous relationships where he does train her and he does give her, you know, a fair teaching and a fair schooling, but there's still that resentment of like, your parents made me kill my son. So while it's that thing of like unfair projection, you can kind of understand it. But yeah, essentially the entire relationship falls apart and Esmeralda goes on to fight things on her own. Like, she becomes her own hunter with her own reputation. But Van Richten, as you can probably tell, is like this world's stand-in for Van Helsing. He is the ever-knowing, ever-knowledgeable person that has been hunting monsters for decades, and he's meant to be that exposition NPC that is like the font of knowledge. Like, he knows everything, has seen everything, done everything. Ask him a question and he will answer it. He has probably faced it about 10 times at this point, so can tell you like very good technique for trying to kill a thing. Like, he's that guy. Whereas Esmeralda, obviously it gives you the backstory and like the intertwined bits, but there's very little of like a personality profile. So it was there like, she lost her leg in a werewolf attack and got it replaced with a really great, what's it called? Prosthesis, thank you. I lost the word there for a second. But yeah, it was like, she like got it replaced with a really great prosthesis. But the whole thing of her backstory is like, her parents kidnapped Van Richten's son. And she sought him out to be like, hey, teach me. But she was only his apprentice for 2 years until the fact that she was a Vistani got too much for Van Richten to bear. And that's one of the reasons that Van Richten both hates and has trained his cat to kill Vistani, because it's the Vistani that kidnapped his son.
I felt so bad for that cat.
And it's
he was just keeping her like chained up, like in his caravan, like basically starving. That's Oh my god, I hated that.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the reasons that as soon as you open the door, it went to attack Esmeralda, because it's like, it's been trained to hunt Vistani. And she is a Vistani.
Poor Esmeralda.
Was there a reason why it didn't attack Amira then? Because
Because Amira's not a Vistani. Like, bloodline-wise, she's not a Vistani.
Right, okay. So that's what the cat could, like, smell and latch onto. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fully, like, genes.
Right.
But yeah, Esmeralda's whole thing was that she was kind of... I think the best way of putting it is, like, an Eldritch Knight, where she does have spell casting ability and has up to, like, 4th level spells, but her main thing is that she has a 3-strike multi-attack. So it's the thing of, like, she can hit 3 times in a turn with her magical weapons. As she's trying to rip vampires to shreds.
I genuinely love what you did with her character. Like, you made her very sassy and, like, very sarcastic and dry, but also, like, she was just really nice to be around and was, like, knowledgeable and, like, helpful and was very funny.
Yeah. There were definitely some times where I realised I was using Esmeralda as, like, my mouthpiece of the thing of, like, if I was there, I would say this. And just then being like, no, I can't do that. I'm meant to be the impartial DM and, like, let's sit back and just not be judgmental.
I enjoyed her taking care of Saya once in a while.
Yeah.
Just like this full-blown stranger. Yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
But I also, like, I don't know where the decision came from to make Esmeralda a lesbian, but I was there like, you know what? My portrayal of her is giving very much, like, exasperated lesbian vibes, so we're just gonna go with it.
She was great, and I loved her very much.
Because I think that is one of my favourite lines of this entire campaign, where I can't remember the exact line, Dusky, but you were just there like, I'm not interested in you in that way, and she's just there like, neither am I, you don't have tits. And I was just there like, this is a beautiful moment. This is a great time. I'm just gonna breathe in, like, because I didn't even think about it, it was just a thing that just came out of my mouth. I was like, I don't remember the actual line that I said, but it was something along the lines of like, I'm not interested in you either, you're not a woman.
It was fantastic because Jack could not handle it.
The amount of women that were after Jack at that moment. If someone else had been there, like, me please, I think he would have died.
Sonder, we're going.
Literally. I felt so bad. I felt so bad for Jack because he's trying to make sure everybody lives, and everyone's like, hey, kiss right now, kiss me on the lips right now, and he's like, I am trying to keep my friend alive. Will you hold on to your pants for 5 more minutes?
Yeah, because at any one point, he had Queenie, Irina, and Saya all looking at him with goo-goo eyes, being like, maybe?
Jack is like, oh my god, can you guys please stop? Oh my god,
We're
please.
in a life and death situation right now. What the fuck's going on?
Why are you guys so horny? This is not the time.
Because the Queenie raising her hand. In all fairness, I have 10 years on these bitches.
I think, like, told D that no matter what, if I feel like I like his character, I'm gonna try to romance him. I mean, he plays the characters that I genuinely like. So, I was like, that's the trope. With everything else I do,
Your trope is
Romancing
Dusky.
D.
Yeah.
Dusky.
I didn't think I could be a trope, but fair enough.
You're just a hot piece of ass that everybody wants, apparently.
We literally created a golden boy.
Also true. Look at that art. Tell me you didn't.
That jawline could cut steel.
To be fair, I'd tap that.
He's a hot character. He really is.
Although, to be fair, it's incredibly interesting if you break it down, like, at least from my perspective, as a DM's perspective, because Saya's love for Jack was very much like that hero complex, you've saved me so I love you kind of anime love. Whereas Irina's was almost that cult noir, like, I don't know what it is about you, but I find you fascinating kind of love. Whereas Queenie's was the almost standard rom-com, like, I've been the girl next door for 10 years, and I've always been here and love you kind of love. And there was these 3 different kinds of attraction that were just being shoved into Dusky's face, and you handled it very well. Although, in fairness, Queenie's didn't have that much chance to take off.
No.
No.
And that is a shame.
But
That
we
is
brought
sad.
her back now so they can smooch now and get married.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
I mean, out of all 3 of us, she's the only one who actually died for him. So, did you really love him?
That you are putting a bar on that.
Woof!
I could have if I wanted to. I'm already dead anyway.
Yeah, we
I
only
still,
like nearly dead.
right. I still think that I definitely agree with Eggs that it is definitely a hero complex thing because he was nice to her when a lot of people like didn't seem like they were nice or like were just really rough with her. Like, you know, there was Sonder, Aurora, and Jack that just kind of were able to like talk to her and connect with her. So essentially, yeah, she's gonna hold on to that. But at the end, I really do think it's all but like a schoolgirl crush thing. And the minute she sees that Queenie's back and Jack is happy and they get together, she'll back right back down. I mean, being in a new place, this is a chance for her to start over, live a life, try different things. I swear, it was never my intention for her to have a romance. It just happened. I don't know how or why, but it did.
Same for Aurora, if that matters.
Because I think the best way to describe, like, I always struggle to describe the way that Irina feels for Jack, because it's so nebulous. Like, there is no way of me describing it in a way that doesn't sound fake. Because in the alternate reality that the epilogue didn't happen and Irina leaves with Jack and Amira and Sonder, Saya, I do think that Jack and Irina would have eventually gotten together, but there would have always been this feeling in the back of her mind of like, why? This doesn't feel quite right. Like, I want to be here, but something is wrong. And it wouldn't have been until she experienced Sergei in a dream that she would have been there like, oh, this is why it's wrong.
Yeah.
And then it would have been this whole other thing of trying to look at Jack and being like, I love you, but I don't love you. I love, like, this version of you that died centuries ago.
I'm in love with your soul.
I'm in-
Accept it. Embrace it.
I'm in love with your doppelganger.
That is awkward.
I think the one thing I'm quite happy about, to not change subject, but I'm kind of glad I went away how I did with Saya at the end. gaining emotions and all that, because I realized it was really hard for me to like try to like maintain. Me, I'm a Pisces. I'm a very emotional person. Without trying to be. I wear my heart on my sleeve, IRL. And it kind of pours into my characters, and I try not to. But, so when I had her start turning into a specter, I was like, alright, this is also gonna happen. This is like my own special side effect of this happening. So, it worked out a little better. For me, at least.
Got a question in the chat. Any extra info on the body Azazel found under the tree in Yester Hill? I mean, in fairness, there isn't too much information to give about that body, but for everyone else, if you can't remember that, when Azazel got up to the Gulthias tree, when he got up to that massive oak that was being transformed, there was a dead person underneath the tree with an axe that seemed to be like semi-embedded in one of the roots. It was meant to be essentially set dressing as a DM, to be there like, oh look, this nature is dangerous, and people that try and attack the tree get killed. But more to the thing, it was meant to be this adventurer had tried in the past to block off the seat of power that was coming from Yester Hill, and they had failed. They had tried to chop down the tree, and it had backfired on them, and they'd been killed for their efforts. So it was more of a moment to allow the party to get magical weaponry, because the axe that adventurer was holding was magical and could have been used as a...
I bloody knew it.
Like, could have been used as a magical axe. It was also...
It bugged me so much that Ash just like didn't mention anything about it.
Yeah, of course not. It was also the thing of, because for you guys, the tarot cards were saying, go to the tree. Go to the Gulthias tree, and, like, you'll find something. It was meant to be the thing of, like, oh, this adventurer was trying to get the thing from the tree and died in the process. So it was meant to be a hint of, like, if you look here, you will find the thing. Which Azazel did, and gave to Aurora for safekeeping. The only thing that you got from your tarot reading.
Yeah.
I was actually just about to message Ray going, I feel like I'm probably lucky that Azazel actually gave that to her.
Because otherwise he would have hoarded it.
Mm-hmm.
Along with everything else.
Azazel has a hoarding problem.
Yes, say that.
Actually, just
I was about to say that while he can't defend himself.
Exactly, get fucked.
minor curiosity question. Was that like planned between you and him, or was that you like taking Azazel's reins since he had to be absent for that episode?
That was me taking Azazel's reins. It was fully the thing of like, I'm not having... Because that was a point in time where Sarah was there, like, I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks. I can't tell you how long.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you need to do with Azazel. And I was like, I am not having Azazel walk off into the woods with one of the few magical items that you are meant to find to help you beat Strahd. So, at that point, your relationship had been blossoming. So I was there like, yeah, I think it makes sense for Azazel to give over this necklace. Hopefully he doesn't think about it too much.
Yeah, no, fair. I'd always been kind of wondering that, like, because I mentioned it a few times to Sorrow in talking with them, and it was just like, I was sure if it was something you guys had planned or what. So I was like, yeah, no, I don't know if this was something you guys talked about, but yeah, no, Aurora has this because of Azazel, so.
I don't remember ever talking to him about it. I think it was fully a thing. Like, I as a DM was there like, I'm doing this because otherwise you're gonna have nothing. Like, technically Azazel had read the Tome of Strahd and then never let anyone else read it, which is why you didn't get a level up for collecting the book. So I was
That's
like,
so rude.
So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make sure that you get this necklace so that you actually get the level up for finding the item.
Thank you.
Because that was also the thing of, because with Curse of Strahd being milestone, it was like, you get a level up when you find each thing connected to the tarot reading, and then when you complete an area of the map. So because Sorrow read the book and then didn't share it with anyone else and then gave it back to Strahd, none of you got the level up for that. Because I was there like, well, that would kind of be a cheat if I'm there like, oh yes, one of you read it and one of you has the information, but none of you, like, touched it. Like, that's a bit of a cheat. So then the book was hidden somewhere in Strahd Manor.
Fair enough.
More because
I
I drew...
honestly can say...
Yeah.
Oh.
Go for it.
Go on, Alex, you can finish.
I was gonna say, more because I drew, like, a new card reading just to be there, like, where did he hide the book? And it came up with somewhere inside Ravenloft. And I was like, you know what? That makes sense.
I was just wicked surprised from, like, everything about Azazel. I didn't expect all this to happen, especially in the beginning when he was like, I'm just gonna go for 5 minutes and not come back. Okay, I'm back 2 hours later. Hi, what's up? How's it going?
Well, essentially what Sorrow was doing is because he'd be privately messaging me, being there like, I've rolled a 26 on stealth. I am following the party. I'm just essentially preparing for the sneak attack that is something of Strahd's attacking the party so that I can do it from the shadows. And I was there like, fair play. But it just turned into like, at some point Azazel would be gone for like 3 hours. And you guys would be like, where the fuck has he gone? And Sorrow sending me private messages, just being there like, I am in the trees.
I love it.
Every now and again, he'd just send me a new stealth check, just being like, well, it's been an hour, I should probably roll a new one. And then me checking everyone's passives to be like, and none of you see him. Go, Azazel, be free.
That's so funny. That's honestly hilarious because we're all just like, I wonder if he's okay. If is he all right? Like, I hope he's fine. And then he's just sitting there in the tree, like, heh heh heh, idiots, eating popcorn.
Or, you know, and say as...
Like... There you go on.
I was gonna say, or in Saya's case over there going, he's with Strahd betraying us right now. I know he is.
He's just sitting in the tree like, haha, bitch.
To me, that's the funniest thing, because just like, yes, okay, Azazel is a rogue and so has like a very good like stealth kind of thing, but a few of us didn't have like, you know, like chump passive perceptions. So it's just like really funny.
Man's rolls like godly on his stealth checks all the time, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, fully. I'm looking at like 19, 19, 21, and he rolls a 26, and I'm like, well, I guess you don't see him.
I mean, hey, if a rogue is gonna roll high on anything, that's like one of the best things to roll high on.
I'm trying to think of anything else. I think the only other thing that I not necessarily need to add, but the kind of thing I want to add, is that the Yesterhill ruins were full of magical abilities and powers. you saw some of them in campaign where Sorrow the rogue was able to resurrect someone because he took that power from something in the Amber Temple. But there were so many other things that were there, like, oh, would you be willing to take a minor curse for the sake of getting this magical boon? And I would have been really interested to just see what the party would have done and what the party would have been willing to lose, I guess. Like, what would you have been willing to lose to gain the power that's in the Amber Temple?
Does it have to be, like, material? Or is it, like, something of yourself?
Oh, it's more something of yourself. So, say, for example, that's a good example. Sorrow got the ability to cast Cone of Cold an amount of times. But the drawback to that is that every expression that he had a lingering effect of looking cruel.
So that's why his smiles. So that's why, like, every time he smiled, it was like twisted.
Mm-hmm. Because I very specifically read out the description. It was there, like, everything you do now has to have this thing of malice as, like, an undertone because you took this power.
And then there's Aurora just over there going, you might want to practice smiling again.
Yeah. He also took another power that meant that he grew an eye on his foot.
Interesting.
And I don't remember what the power was, but it essentially was there, like, if you take it, then you grow another eye. And then I rolled randomly to be like, where does this eye manifest? And he was very lucky in the sense that it appeared on his foot. But he now just has another eye.
That's so that is literally so funny to me because, you know, okay, I'm gonna be a bit of a goofus. So you know how cats like to put their paws underneath the bathroom door? I can literally just see Azazel being like, hey honey, what are you doing? Sticks his foot underneath the door.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's one Aurora definitely didn't know about.
I think to be fair, that's one that Sorrow forgot about. Otherwise, it would have been in the descriptions because there is just an eye on his foot.
Fair.
That's
And
so
for
funny.
Ron, I'm glad it never came up.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's other powers that would have had other effects on the party should they have picked them. And they are all along that similar vein where it's like, it's a noticeable change. Like, there is something that happens to you that you then have to factor in. Oh, that
were the other, like, boons and effects, I guess you would call them.
Yes. Let me find them. There's multiple different ones, to be fair. There's the ability to cast the contagion spell a limited number of times, so essentially like infecting someone with sickness. There's the ability to cast lightning bolt as an action a limited number of times. Raise dead. It fully depends on which boon you think would be worth it. Because I essentially, as the DM, would be there like, you hear in your mind something offer you this gift. And it would be like a vague description. And then you'd be sat there as a person being like, is this vague description worth it? And then I'd send you a private message being like, this is what you can do, but... So say, for example, if you took the gift that let you cast Lightning Bolt as an action, one side of the beneficiary's face sags and loses all feeling. So you'd look like you were having a stroke all the time.
Oh, damn.
And you wouldn't be able to feel anything either. Like, someone would poke your cheek and you wouldn't be able to feel it.
Oof.
So all of them have drawbacks. And it's like, what is worth it? Because you technically could walk to every single... Like, if you imagine them all being in chests, you could walk up to every single chest and be like, I take this boon, this boon, this boon, this boon, this boon. But it's then the thing of, are you willing to accept the drawback of that?
The monkey's paw curls.
Yeah.
Wait, so was part of that why Azazel couldn't feel like the warmth when Aurora touched him, or was that just a vampiric thing?
Oh, that was just vampiric flavour that Sorrow decided to run with.
Fair enough.
But no, one thing he did gain, I just remembered what it was from the ability to cast Cone of Cold, was that he then became deathly afraid of fire. So both him and Sonda started freaking out whenever Saya cast Fireball.
That's why he was so scared. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Understandable.
And then
Fire's terrifying.
And then because it was his fear, it then was kind of a fear projected onto his spawn. So then his spawn became scared of fire.
That's kind of funny to me. Because you can learn fears and phobias from people, which is how I'm scared of needles and spiders. And that's just kind of funny.
Understandable, because also, like, you know, fire, owie for vampires, so, like,
Beautiful. But yeah, like, I think that's the one thing that I, as a DM, am there, like, I'm not sad that you didn't go there, but I would have found it very interesting if you did. Just to see what you did and to see what and who you interacted with. Because I'm aware that as a DM, like, I forced you to go talk to the Lich because you were there like, oh yeah, let's go talk to this guy that might know something about a phylactery. But there would have been so many hallways that you would be walking through and so many rooms that you would have got attacked in before you got to the Lich. I just kind of breezed past it for the thing of, like, for the sake of time.
that's totally understandable.
But are there any other questions that you can think of? Because now is the time.
This might be absolutely nothing, but at the very end of the, like, final session, it was that, like, we pan over to Azazel in Ravenloft, and he starts to hear, like, Strahd chuckling. What was that about? Is that, like, PTSD? Is that, like, Strahd being like, I'm back, bitches? Or, like, what was that?
So this might become a very niche reference, but if any of you have seen the newest Pirates of the Caribbean movie,
Yes.
Dead Men Tell No Tales. So
Yes.
what it is essentially meant to be, for the people that haven't seen it, is that Will starts having nightmares about Davy Jones stalking him in his new family home. And he wakes up in a sweat, and Elizabeth is there like, you know, go back to sleep. It's fine. And we think it is fine until the camera pans under the bed and we see a load of barnacles, like, on the bed frame, essentially meant to be hinting, like, it wasn't a dream. Davy Jones is back. And that was essentially the vibe I was going for, with the thing of like, it could be a dream, it could be PTSD, it could be like paranoia, or Strahd's back, bitches. And you don't know.
Well, if he does come back, we're gonna be stronger than we were before, so we'll just murk him again. Because Aurora can just be like, SOS, the bad bitch is back, we need all guns, all hands on deck, and we're like, okay, BRB, we'll be right there, and we all just roll up, and like Jack has a fucking tank, and like we'll be fine.
But that's the beauty of it. Now that Strahd is back, do you think he's gonna let any of you back through the mist that is now reforming around Barovia?
We'll find a way. I have plane shift, we'll be fine.
Same.
But yeah, it was kind of meant to be a thing of like, because even the book says like, after a couple of months, the mist returns. And I'm there like, oh, after a couple of months, they're still hunting for diamonds, they're still hunting for diamonds, they're still on like a vision quest of acceptance, they're still doing this. Like, there is so much that is being done by you guys that you couldn't help. And then Strahd returns. And I'm just there like, okay.
Well, Aurora still has that necklace.
Very true. Very true.
So, like, if Strahd is just, like, returning anyways, is there any way to permanently keep him down? Or is he just gonna be, like, popping back up every few months and then we just have to kill him again?
He is quite literally a rat problem at this point.
No, literally.
Make another, like, open, like, a demi-plane portal, trap his soul in the phylactery, toss the phylactery in?
I'm sure though.
Counterpoint, we can just get the bag of holding again, and we can just shove him in the bag of holding.
There are multiple ways that you could do it, but the ending of the module is essentially meant to be this thing of like, you think you've won and you haven't. You think you've won and you think you've got your happy ending, and then Strahd returns. Maybe in subtle ways, maybe in more overt ways, but essentially, like, it's beginning again.
Time to go find the Horcruxes and,
No, literally.
What better way for Strahd to return than already in a vampire running Barovia?
Mm-hmm.
Dusty, you're, like, super quiet for me. I have your volume turned all the way up and you're still really quiet.
My apologies.
You're good.
But yeah, what better way for him to return than inside a vampire that is already ruling Barovia?
that wouldn't take Aurora long to figure out, though, in theory.
How do we get him out of Azazel is the next question.
Exorcism.
Be gone, spawn of Satan.
Holy water, garlic, and mirror. Fuck off.
Okay. Anything else from anyone else before we put this specific tale to bed? Alright then. We have been 20 Swords of Failure, and this is the ending of Curse of Strahd. We are not quite done yet. Tune in next week, where our players will be reading the backstories that they sent to me for their characters. This could be bullet points, this could be 5 sides of A4. We're going to keep it authentic. and you get to see a little bit more of the behind the scenes of what we did as part of a collaboration of player and DM to bring these characters to life. But for now, with Honey Sides of Failure, we stream every Friday 7 p.m. EST, or you can catch us on our YouTube channel of the same name if you're not able to watch us live. Thank you so much to my players, and good night.
Good night.